When the Kindling Human Civilization handed every 30-year-old a flame seed, I drew Colorless, the absolute lowest quality there is. The name is Sanchi, and the entire population of Gwangju City watched me draw it. Then the bronze token I had worn since birth finally woke up. The Heavens Market tore open right behind my bedroom wall. Alien races came pouring through 19 space gates to pay me in purple engines, orange shields, and mermaid tears. That trash draw was never my ceiling. It was my front door. Real quick, hit the like button and subscribe. It costs you nothing, and the algorithm appreciates it. How I got here is the part worth telling. Let me take you back to the first hour. A pillar of light 1 kilometer tall shoots up from the deployment platform outside Gwangju City. The 100 kindling starships parked in Nero just a second ago? They are completely gone, flung straight into a stretch of sky nobody has ever charted. I rip the virtual helmet off my head and log out of the White Tower network. My face is doing something I really wish it was not. I just watched the live Star C deployment for the graduating class of Gwangju City. Gwangju sits exactly one spot above us in the academy standings. I am graduating from Gongwon First Kindling Academy. That means the wild scene I have been staring at for 15 minutes becomes my turn very soon. Ultra-long-distance deployment into the Star C. Exploring dead space nobody has ever mapped, and I am about to do both at once. There is fear in that, but something else underneath it too. An opportunity like this never comes around twice. A man who grabs hold of it properly can climb a very long way up. This is the great era of the Star C. Tens of millions of years ago, the multiverse ripped apart. The land fragments left behind by countless shattered universes, scattered straight across the void realm. That old era ended and a new one arrived because it simply had to. Surviving civilizations simply call it the Shattered Star C era. Those leftover fragments of cosmic land picked up a fitting name of their own along the way: floating continents. It did not take long for every alien race out there to notice. A floating continent is the ultimate residue of a dead universe, usually stuffed with extremely rare resources. So everybody went to war over them. Nobody gave an inch, and the whole Shattered Star C has been burning ever since. Across tens of millions of years, civilizations are annihilated in every single corner, wiped completely off the historical record. Meanwhile, brand new ones keep shooting up like bamboo after a rainstorm. Kindling Human Civilization is just one of those. Inside our territory, every legal citizen can deploy on an ultra-long-distance interstellar jump. At 30, you bind a kindling starship and begin exploring the Star C. Genetic tech pushed the average lifespan to 140 years. So hitting 30 here is roughly what coming of age used to mean. Ever since the flame seed source origin was first lit over 300,000 years ago, every single member of the civilization keeps this exact rule. At age 30, a citizen can attempt to awaken their flame seed and bind a kindling starship. Then you start working a star domain. Scavenge alien resources, upgrade the ship, sublimate your life level, and hold the border against alien empires that push harder every single decade. Awakening that inner flame seed and actually taking control of a kindling starship is the single most important hour in the life of any citizen here. Awaken successfully, and you instantly sit far above the people who failed. Push the ship high enough, and the rest just stops being difficult. Carving out territory, ruling by absolute fiat. Becoming the ultimate master of a vast star domain, holding on to a long life and stepping right into the nobility of this whole civilization. I push the feeling down and stand up. I drop low into a horse stance, raising both hands with the palms turned up, opening them slowly. That is the standard posture for the basic guiding technique. According to official data, this exact set of movements developed over tens of thousands of years strengthens the body and pushes the sublimation of your life level. It also bumps up the odds of a totally successful awakening. Before 30, a higher guiding technique rank means a much better chance. Honestly, that is the entire reason the awakening age was set at 30 in the first place. Against a 140-year lifespan, it gives a person enough time to cultivate the technique properly and drive those odds up. It also leaves plenty of room for the basic Star Seas knowledge that keeps a newly awakened captain breathing out there. And the century left over is more than enough time to strengthen the ship and repeatedly sublimate the life level. 3 massive problems solved by one number. 3 hours later, I finally stop. More than 20 years of practicing without a break has pushed my guiding technique straight to level 4. Getting past that point is not something that happens quickly anymore. The sky outside is pitch black and I have absolutely no intention of continuing tonight. I wash up and head straight to bed. Tomorrow is the flame seed awakening. Being well rested matters more than anything else I could do tonight. The massive ceremony on the Gongwon First Kindling Academy playground starts early. Jang Riri, flame seed awakening successful, quality colorless. The officer from the White Tower Kindling Bureau makes the call. Next up, Jupong B below the platform. Several hundred students react in 100 different ways. A few let out quiet sighs, but mostly you just see envy on their faces. Any legal citizen can attempt this at 30. The success rate is brutally low. By this academy's historical average, 4 out of 10 is a genuinely good year. Keep in mind, this is where the elites gather. Every other Kindling Academy in the city performs far worse. I stand in that crowd, fists clenched tight. I am just as envious and completely wrecked with nerves. 30 years of life, all coming down to this one morning. Joe Pong Flameseed Awakening failed. The voice echoes out before calling the next name. Joe Unpung Flameseed Awakening successful. Quality colorless. Student after student step past some fail. Then they call grade 10, class 5 my class. Next up Sunho. Beside me is a guy close to 7 feet tall, built practically like a black bear. He is shivering where he stands. I put a hand on his shoulder and tell him to relax. Tell him he has got this. Out of everyone at this academy, Sunho is one of the very few I actually call a friend. He gives a single nod and marches up to the platform. Sunho, the officer, announces Flameseed Awakening successful, quality white. Instantly, the student crowd erupts. Everyone here knows that awakening a flameseed and its actual quality are two entirely different things. Colorless is the absolute floor. Above that sits white, then blue, then purple, and it only goes up from there. Do not let white being second from the bottom fool you. It frequently takes dozens of awakenings to produce even one. As for blue or purple, the odds are so terrible that aiming for them is a total fantasy. I break into a smile, genuinely happy for the guy. The second Sunho steps down, he gets mobbed. People who have not spoken 4 sentences to him in 10 years suddenly want to be his best friend. They are all crowding around, desperately trying to deepen an acquaintance that simply does not exist. It is not exactly snobbery, though. Right now, Sunho is a genuinely hot commodity. Anyone the white quality flameseed is a prize. Small consortiums, chambers of commerce, wealthy families, they are all extremely willing to invest heavily. The moment he signs an investment agreement, he scores a massive injection of kindling starship resources. From there, his ship's promotion speed will absolutely leave everybody else in the dust. A starting kindling starship ranks at absolute 0. Every single upgrade and component eats resources. Without real money backing you up, that climb is agonizingly slow. Next up, Songi. 4 people in a row just failed, and now it is my turn. Sunho shoots me a look, trying to pass on some encouragement. I take a deep breath, shove the nerves down, and walk up. Guided by the bureau officer, I reach my right hand toward the pitch-black flame resting directly in front of me. That dark fire is known as the flameseed source origin. It is not the original fire burning at the core star domain of our civilization, but it was separated off from that very source. It helps a human body awaken its own flameseed and actually boosts the success rate. Instantly, my right palm goes warm. It feels like a split second, yet somehow like 10,000 years. Then something stings the center of my palm sharp like a needle sinking in. My eyes snap open. Songi Flameseed Awakening successful, quality colorless. Walking back down, I am juggling about 4 different emotions all at once. Half of them are pretty good. The best part? I actually awakened it. The extraordinary road ahead is going to be far smoother now. 30 long years of work did not just evaporate into nothing. The bad news, though, is the quality itself. Colorless is bottom tier, and the ceiling on it is incredibly low. It is perfectly fine early on. But if that quality never rises, then as the years roll by, the ship's strengthening just stalls out completely. The road ends, leaving me stuck in exactly the same place. Suddenly, something scalds my chest. I remember exactly what is hanging there. The Star C market token is rapidly heating up. In 30 years, that has never once happened. I walk back to where my class is lined up, my face completely twisted in confusion. From the outside, I look like a guy who just got knocked sideways. Hyung Sunho says, hurrying right over to comfort me, "Do not sweat it too much. The quality of a flameseed can always be raised. Colorless is barely a setback." I shake my head to show him I am fine, and honestly, it is not a fake brave face. The instant the word colorless left that officer's mouth, I felt crushed for about a second and a half. Then I shook it off, because Sunho is absolutely right. It is brutally difficult. It burns through resources most people will never even see. But as a transmigrator, I have a certain quiet confidence about climbing that ladder slowly. Yeah, I am a transmigrator, born directly into this world. Right now, the only thing I actually care about is the token burning against my chest. That copper plaque dragged me out of Earth in my last life and dropped me into this one. For 30 years, I have been absolutely positive. It is the one cheat code I brought along. Now it is changing. And I am supposed to just stand in this crowd and ignore it. I can't exactly pull it out and stare at it right in front of the whole graduating class. So I hold back. Eventually, the burning fades on its own. Half an hour later, the ceremony wraps up. Out of 600 students, less than 200 actually awakened. Pure chaos hits the square, crying, laughing, screaming, sobbing. Some of it absolute joy. A lot of it crushing grief. Because from this second onward, The two groups standing in that yard are stepping into completely different realities. Tension. A voice booms. Anyone who awakened, follow your homeroom teacher straight to the Kindling building. Anyone who failed, clear out of the school within the hour. The order echoes deep from the teacher's office building, carrying across the grounds. We turn to look and a figure leaps right off the roof. Pitch black psionic energy erupts around him in plain sight. A ring of dark fire opens under his boots, and he vanishes completely. When he flashes back into view, he is standing on empty air above the entire yard. Principal Juyogu. He commands a high-level kindling starship. His life level has ascended to the 3rd tier, and he has run this academy for 150 years. The pressure rolling off him drops the weight of a grown man right onto my shoulders. Thanks to my level 4 guiding technique, it barely even registers. Still, I am incredibly aware he is holding almost all of it back. If he fully unleashed a 3rd-tier aura, every single student here would be smashed flat against the dirt, and more than a few of them would have shattered bones. My breathing turns heavy. I keep my face blank, but a hot rush hits the back of my eyes anyway. Riding the wind, walking on thin air, the exact thing everyone on Bluest Star daydreams about is hovering right in front of me. I have watched this happen plenty of times before, and yet my pulse still races. Under the principal's gaze, the teachers move faster than anyone has ever seen. The 200 of us are hustled toward the Kindling building in record time. Glancing around the group, I count 16 awakened from Class 5. 2 white flame seeds among us Sunho and a guy named Wang Wan. The remaining 14 are completely colorless. Up on the 2nd floor in Psionic Modification Room 5, our homeroom teacher Yang Mongyi tells all 16 of us to lie down inside the individual modification chambers. Once everyone is secured, he throws the switch. The heavy lids slide down and seal shut. Instantly, pitch-black psionic energy floods the tight space. I am not nervous, this is standard curriculum. Psionic modification is fully mandatory right after an awakening. The moment a flameseed wakes, it gives the awakener and their bound ship absolute control over psionic energy. The thing that makes psionic power so incredible across the shattered star sea is its sheer adaptability. It swallows almost every known energy type and converts it into more psionic power, meaning we can strip essentially any star sea resource into fuel for our ships. That one single trait is the reason this civilization never stops expanding, relentlessly pushing the galactic border outward. Right at the moment of first awakening, though, a human body that just unlocked psionic power cannot handle the raw current. It triggers violent, extremely unpleasant physical rejection. The only real fix is totally baptizing the flesh in psionic energy, soaking in it until you become a true psionic body. These chambers exist to compress years of mutation to a few hours. Eyes shut, palms open. The guiding technique hums through my veins, just like it has every single day since I was a kid learning the stances. I lose track of the time. Suddenly, the space right between my eyebrows starts to burn and swell. My heart spikes. That is the signal. Only when the body is totally converted can a person forge that kindling ancestral aperture in their forehead. That exact spot is where the flameseed lives, and where the starship gets stored. A few minutes later, all 16 of us finish the process, apertures wide open. Follow me, Yang Mongyi barks out. There is just one step left, fusing your first starship. You are only a true successor of this civilization. Once your flame seed merges with an ordinary ship, transforming it into a living kindling starship, out behind the Kindling building sits a massive conventional starship base. Every awakened student across the whole city comes straight here to fuse their first vessel. Inside the Scout-class shuttle hangar, nearly 200 of us line up to take our turns. Nobody gets a choice in this. Every single flame seed has to fuse with one specific model, the Kindling Psionic Shuttle. It acts as the foundational ship for everyone in our society. Say, someone calls out and I step right up to a standard scout shuttle. I clumsily drag the psionic energy through my system, gathering it right between my brows. A beam of stark light shoots from my forehead into the metal fuselage. A massive gravitational pull erupts from the aperture. The heavy shuttle steadily shrinks down to the size of a fingernail, and then sinks straight into my skull. I close my eyes and focus inward. Deep inside that chaotic mental space floats a single wisp of black flame. The tiny shuttle sits suspended right above it, endlessly roasting in the heat. A few minutes pass. A panel slides open right next to it, unnamed, just waiting for me to finally give it one soon. Model class is a Kindling Psionic Shuttle. Level 0. Basic components show a colorless kindling hull right at the top. Then a psionic main cannon, a secondary one, full hull armor, the engine, and a psionic shield. Toss in a patrol radar and a psionic cultivation platform. All of them stuck at level 0. 8 out of 8 slots maxed. Special mods? Psionic pool sits at 100 out of 1,000. Supplies are completely empty. I scroll right past the top lines and hit the specs. These basic parts are the standard loadout every shuttle gets once fusion wraps up. That colorless kindling hole is obvious. It binds straight to the flame seed in my aperture, meaning it levels up whenever the seed does. But pushing that seed from 0 to 1? That costs 5 strands of floating land origin and 200 points of raw psionic energy. I almost keep reading, but Yang Wei starts barking at us to hurry up. So I snap out of it, step back. Let the next student take my spot. Every awakened student clears fusion. Nobody hits that nightmare low probability failure rate, and the teachers in the hangar collectively exhale. Because fusion can definitely fail. The odds are tiny, but the fallout is massive. A botched fusion means waiting a full month for your flame seed to buffer before another try, and that delay is a death sentence. You only get 3 days of special protection after awakening. Exploring any alien star region inside that window is drastically safer. It is the ultimate rookie shield, plain and simple. As long as a guy does not actively try to get himself killed out there, his life is basically secure. He grinds real experience in an alien zone for free, all while scooping up a massive extra chunk of resources. For a rookie captain, you just do not walk away from that. But fail fusion, and that 1-month cooldown is absolute. You just sit there watching your safe window slam shut. Everyone assemble at the Academy Plaza by 8 tomorrow morning. Yang Wei announces this to everyone at the Class 5 gathering point. He stares at 16 kids he has practically raised for years, swallowing 1,000 warnings. He tells us to go home and prepare properly. Even a protected tutorial run gets people killed every single year, so do not slack off. Understood. All 16 of us shout back. I split from Sunho and flag down a kinetic cab on the shoulder. My place is downtown, not too far from campus. Less than 20 minutes later, I am stepping out at the gates of the Donggang complex. 10 universal credit points deducted. My watch chimes. It flashes my current balance. 2.4 million and change. I do not even blink. Anybody else staring at that kind of money would probably have a stroke. Credit points run the whole Morningstar Principality, and they hit heavy when it comes to purchasing power. Normal guys make maybe 3,000 a month. Save 2,000 after rent. Hitting 2.5 million? That takes a century of skipping lunch. For a kid still in school, it is a borderline psychotic amount of cash. And no, my parents did not give it to me. I scraped it together over 30 years. Back in my last life, I was a total hack of a web novelist, and some of that actually carried over. So over my 20-odd years in this world, I cranked out quite a few books. My biggest hits were some sci-fi story about a ship shattering the firmament, and another one about a continent crushed under a collapsing sky. But honestly, after 300,000 years of culture, the web novel scene here is definitely not some empty frontier. Both did okay. The total royalties from all my writing barely cracked that 2 million mark, which really is not a flex to anyone living around here. Donggang Complex, Building 5, Unit 403. The second I push the door open, my dad Seo and my mom Jin Ryoa both snap their heads up. You are home. Mom waves me inside, tells me to hurry up and sit down because she just finished braising my deep-sea mackerel. I lock eyes with it, drop my bag, slide into my chair, and practically inhale the entire bowl of soup before taking a breath. This heavy heat radiates from my stomach out into my limbs, and I do not even care about the weird look on my face right now. Deep-sea mackerel tastes vile. It is objectively disgusting trash. The kind of meal any sane kid would throw right back in the garbage. But I have choked it down for over 20 years anyway, because the meat is absolutely packed with dense, raw blood energy. And blood energy forces the guiding technique to work overtime. That ugly fish is half the reason I hit level 4 by 20, while normal guys are stuck at level 2, and the so-called geniuses cap at 3. The higher you climb, the harder the grind gets. That is just basic common knowledge across this entire territory. I flatten my hands. I start running the technique, ripping the blood energy right out of that meal to force my cultivation forward. Well, I guess technically it is the psionic guidance technique now. Once your body converts and that psionic transformation finishes, the guiding technique auto-upgrades. The psionic version runs way smoother and faster than the old base model. Watching the black psionic energy drift off my body, both of them drop their anxiety instantly. They both possess awakened flame seeds, so they know exactly what they are looking at. A sun who can already channel psionic energy is a sun who is fully awakened. A colorless flame seed, I tell them, while still absorbing the psionic energy. The shuttle fuses for my first alien star region exploration at 8 tomorrow morning. They just nod. There is not a single trace of disappointment anywhere on either of their faces. From the day I was born, they both carried colorless flame seeds, locking their bloodline ceiling right there. So a sun who awakened at all was their entire hope. A white quality seed or higher was never on their list of expectations. Not from day one, simply because the odds are brutal. After lunch, my dad calls out Sanchi, "Come here." Inside the study, he turns completely solemn and lectures me for a long while. Then a flicker of light crosses his brow. Two glowing orbs float out of his aperture and hang suspended right in front of me. He tells me this is the starting resource he and my mother are giving me. 1,000 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin, and a white special component for the kindling starship. A fire sunflower soldier tree. I am openly thrilled. It might not be a massive amount, but for someone standing right at the starting line, it covers a complete initial round of performance upgrades for the shuttle, adding real numbers to its combat power and survivability. That puts my starting position ahead of almost everyone my year. You can never underestimate a small head start, because being one step ahead means everything. Sometimes a tiny early lead is the only reason a man eventually reaches the sky. And honestly, I want that white quality fire sunflower soldier tree way more than the 1,000 resource strands. Every single colored kindling starship component has to be extracted from a Star C exotic item. The second those four words attach to an object, its market value goes completely vertical, even at the lowest white grade. And this right here is a soldier puppet component. That is easily the most sought-after category in existence. A puppet you can summon at will functions as a guard, heavy combat support, or just a meat shield to put between a captain and whatever is trying to kill him. Any one of those benefits raises your survival rate immensely. People bleed over these things the moment they appear. Thank you, Dad, I tell him. And thank you, Mom. Shifting my internal psionic energy, I pull both floating balls of light directly into my aperture. I sit through one last round of their instructions before I finally get to head upstairs. Back in the safety of my bedroom, I hold off on entering the aperture to finish reading my shuttle stats. Instead, I take the heavy copper plaque off my chest. I have carried the very thing that transmigrated me here every single day of this life. It is fairly small, maybe half the size of a lighter. 4 tiny characters are carved into the front, reading Starship's market. That is exactly why I always just called it the Starship market token. Turning it over, I noticed the change immediately. For 30 years, it has been nothing but an ordinary piece of copper. Totally useless, no matter what I did to it. Now there is a faint, pitch-black luster shifting across the surface. It is so weak that a person not looking for it would miss it entirely. That is pure psionic energy. My eyes widen as the plaque shifts again, probably because I keep staring at it. Suddenly, a transparent panel opens beside it. It calls itself the Psionic Energy Star C Market Token. Its category is a growth-type exotic item, with an unknown quality at level 0. The first trait controls and connects to a specific place once conditions are met. The second states the token can upgrade itself under the right specific conditions, and the small remark at the very bottom calls it a peerless exotic item with infinite growth potential. An attribute panel. Psionic Energy. Was it the psionic energy I picked up an hour ago that finally triggered this reaction? Beyond all that, this token is a Star C exotic item. A growth type one, no less. That is a category I have literally never heard anyone mention before, though the name definitely sounds impressive. A chaotic rush of thoughts hits me all at once, and then something else entirely happens. I focus hard, gathering the tiny bit of psionic energy I have into my right palm, and I push it slowly into the metal plaque. Something massive grips my entire body. I know immediately that I made a mistake. I cannot shut the energy flow off in time. In the very next second, a sickening wave of dizziness shoots through my head. I force the rising nausea down. My eyes snap open. I frantically scan my surroundings several times over. Only after confirming there is no immediate danger do I let my tense shoulders drop just a fraction. I am absolutely not relaxing any further than that, because I have already established one glaring fact: I am not in my bedroom. I am somewhere entirely new. Once the heavy nausea passes, I start looking around properly. A steady warmth radiates from the bronze token still clutched in my hand. As I look down at it, a sudden stream of information floods my head instead. This place has no name, and its market master is me, level 0. The entire layout runs about 300 feet on each side. The basic configuration holds 10 vacant shops, one stall area roughly 30 feet square, and a single-story inn that sleeps 10. There is one level 0 all-attribute cultivation room. Inside, efficiency doubles for any psionic energy defensive array. One level 0 ultra-long-range random space gate deployment platform. Additional configurations none, 0 out of 2. Its main trait is danger avoidance. This lets the platform move freely within the void and instinctively evade natural disasters. As for upgrading it, it requires 10 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin, plus a ruins market transaction volume reaching 100 strands of the exact same material. The note at the bottom describes it as an inconspicuous little ruins market, hiding on the dark side of the shattered Star Sea. Apparently, it only admits creatures below Tier 1 who show solid potential. A few minutes of sorting through those details, and my eyes just light up. Whatever I am feeling right now, there is no word for it. I turn around, looking outward through the half-circle of psionic energy shield behind me. Outside is absolutely nothing but pitch-black void. Far out in the distance, massive void storms are blowing past. They sound exactly like the end of the world. Everywhere they touch, dense spatial rifts open up and literally tear space apart. My scalp crawls just looking at it. Usually tearing space is something only a heavily upgraded kindling starship can manage. Yet out in that total blackness, random storms are doing it casually everywhere. Then I remember what I just read. The fear immediately drains away. According to the data, I am standing inside a special secret realm space, floating in a void rift on the dark side of the shattered star sea. Supposedly, it is the direct product of an ancient civilization. A people that called themselves the Immortal Domain. Some powerful figure from that immortal domain fitted this space with a rare, ultra-long-range random space gate deployment platform. Because of that setup, it has spent its entire existence acting as a trading ruins market, connecting widely distant regions. Plus, it carries the incredibly rare danger avoidance trait. That lets it completely dodge the void storms inside the rifts on its own. That is the only reason it has survived drifting out here for tens of thousands of years. Knowing that finally lets me drop my shoulders and relax. Nobody has controlled this market for tens of thousands of years before I showed up, and it has not been destroyed in all that time. That tells me exactly how good danger avoidance really is. So I go and check the place out. It burned massive amounts of energy out here, with absolutely nothing replenishing it for tens of thousands of years. Presumably, that is why a once extremely prosperous market secret realm has shrunk down to its bare floor. The length, width, and height are all under a few hundred feet. It is pretty pitiful. Along the only street, 10 storefronts, an inn, and the stall area are laid out evenly on both sides. At the far end on the left sits the only all-attribute cultivation room. Directly opposite stands the absolute most important building in the entire market, the ultra-long-range random space gate deployment platform. Just looking at those two structures brings up all their details. The all-attribute cultivation room is level 0. Inside, it raises general cultivation speed by 200% and by 400% when focusing specifically on psionic energy. It is a single-person room. The note calls it a super high specification build, directly from the hand of a powerful figure in the immortal domain civilization. It says that because it was modified by a special force called psionic energy, cultivating that specific energy inside carries extra bonuses. Upgrading it requires the ruins market to reach level 1, plus 10 wisps of tier 0 floating land origin. The deployment platform is also level 0. Once activated, it randomly places 10 space gates across the shattered star sea. These lead into and out of the ruins market, lasting 24 hours with a 720-hour cooldown. Because of the market's current tier, life forms at tier 1 and above are completely blocked from passing through them. The note calls it a magical building from that exact same creator, boasting an extraordinary function while demanding identical upgrade materials. Reading both descriptions makes me want to test that platform immediately. Thanks to the token, I am the new owner of this market. That means inside these walls, I am the absolute master of every single rule. And as long as nothing above the market's own tier gets inside, I am effectively invincible. I am in absolutely no danger of any kind here. Obviously, I want to try its core function right now, connecting different star regions of the shattered star sea, so a guy can talk and trade with alien civilizations. Plus, it is worth remembering that upgrading this entire place specifically requires transaction volume. Unless I am perfectly fine sitting in a 300-foot market forever, trading only with tier 0 races, that platform has to run regularly. I fight with myself for a while. Then I finally put the impulse down. The reasoning is simple enough. It is already afternoon. There are under 20 hours until assembly, and the exact moment I activate that platform, the gates it opens will last a full 24 hours. Opening this market now collides directly with tomorrow morning's exploration. As the market master, I have absolute control in here, maintaining order, as long as nothing at tier 1 or above shows up. But every single part of that depends on me being physically inside the market. If I leave right now, who knows what this space turns into while I am gone. Plus, I have a ton of prep work to handle. Tomorrow is my first real exploration, and I plan to be ready. I also have a few theories about this place to verify one by one. So I use the token to pop in and out a few times, carrying something different on each trip. A water bottle, a school bag, and a chair. 10 minutes later, I get my first solid answer. Anything I can physically hold comes right into the market with me, but anything heavier than what I can personally carry stays behind. With that settled, I rush over to the stall area I passed earlier. It happens to be one of the few wide-open spaces in here. The 30-foot square is totally unremarkable, yet large enough for a psionic shuttle, since the hull runs just over 20 feet. Here is the big question: can I actually summon my ship inside this market? I draw every single scrap of psionic energy straight toward the space between my eyebrows. A subtle shift happens there. I cannot help but grin, because the aperture is actually opened. A beam of light shoots from my forehead. The compact psionic shuttle suddenly materializes right in the middle of the empty space before me. It works. I can literally summon the psionic shuttle inside the ruins market. The rush of realizing that is hard to process, especially since I can retreat here instantly if a crisis hits. That alone is a massive life-saving trump card. Suddenly a ton of those crazy theories I had earlier are completely viable. Generally speaking, what is the single biggest headache a kindling starship captain faces while exploring an alien star region? Most people would say hostile alien civilizations. Running into something powerful out there guarantees exactly one grim outcome: a shattered ship and a dead crew. But that is not it. The real issue that haunts every single captain is cargo space. The vessel has a fixed size, which means carrying capacity is heavily limited. Because of this, every captain constantly calculates and recalculates the payload before deploying, and again on the return trip. They squeeze the hold to its absolute limit, which makes packing heavy gear like the bulky Tiger Type 1 floating land mining vehicle, Hornet-class combat drones, and Land Combat Type 4 exploration robots almost impossible. Even if a guy drags one out there, the second he actually hits a payday in an alien star region, returning home becomes a logistical nightmare. Does he haul the massive rig back, or abandon it entirely just to make room for his newly mined resources? That gear is not cheap. Dumping it is barely survivable, provided the cargo he hauls back is actually valuable enough. The real nightmare is mining a haul worth far less than the abandoned rig. And if he keeps the gear, a kindling starship only holds so much. So how much ore actually makes it back? That paradox has never been solved, and it drives every living captain completely insane, which is exactly why space folding and expansion-type components have seen their prices bid straight into the stratosphere. A basic white-quality space module easily sells for the price of a blue or purple tier. Most of the time, they are simply not for sale at any price. During the entire ride home this afternoon, I was obsessively rearranging the small cargo hold of that shuttle, trying to build the perfect plan for tomorrow. Turns out, I do not have to. A ruins market where someone can freely summon their kindling starship acts as a flawless backup hold, and a terrifyingly massive one at that. The market restricts what I carry and rejects huge items, but the ship bypasses that entirely. It rests inside the aperture, leaving plenty of room to operate. Load the heavy machinery right into the ship. Stow the ship in the aperture, step into the market, and summon the ship right back out. Just like that, the single-person limit is entirely bypassed. Deep inside an alien star region, that exact same trick works in perfect reverse. Just use the ship as the hauler. Move massive resources that could never have come home straight into the market. The total harvest from every single exploration multiplies by a factor I am afraid to even guess at yet. All of this hinges on one simple prerequisite. Once I deploy to an alien star region, I must still be able to open this place and step inside. If I cannot, this dream dies immediately. A sudden system prompt cuts off my racing thoughts, demanding I name the ruins market as soon as possible. Which reminds me, it is not just this place. The shuttle parked in front of me needs a name too. I think it over for a dozen seconds, and one word immediately strikes me. Heavens. I read way too many Shangsha novels back in my past life. Since the space beneath my feet randomly links to star regions across the entire shattered star sea, the Heavens market is as fitting as it gets. Heavens market, the system replies. Naming process successful. Next up is the ship. Naming the shuttle takes significantly longer, because with so many kindling starships in this civilization, the good names were claimed centuries ago. I try all the obvious choices, only to get told every single time that the title already exists. Try again. I try a few more. Same answer. Each time, the system clips the sentence shorter, until it can barely even be bothered to finish rejecting me. Firmament. I punch it in. The system says it has never been used, then asks if I am actually sure. Extremely sure. I confirm the choice for this thing can change its mind. Naming complete. I finally get a proper look at the shuttle. Yang Wei interrupted my scan this morning, so I still have not seen the complete specs yet. Everything sits at level 0. There really is not much to look at beyond the components. Right now, this ship is just a blank sheet. Take the special components. A newly fused kindling starship starts with 2 slots. That number only grows during shuttle upgrades, and the amount it gains depends entirely on the flame seed quality. Higher quality means more slots. This is exactly why our civilization obsesses over flame seeds. It dictates the ship's absolute ceiling. Plus, the sheer combat strength between 2 identical rank vessels. Picture 2 kindling starships at level 10. The one running a white flame seed might carry 10 special components. A psionic shuttle with a colorless seed gets 6 at the absolute maximum. That is nearly double. There is zero meaningful comparison between what those 2 ships could actually do to each other. I focus, letting the details pop up one by one. The psionic main cannon at level 0 sits at colorless quality. It burns 10 psionic energy per shot for 11 might. It takes 5 seconds to charge and 10 to recover. Upgrading costs 1 strand of Tier 0 floating land origin, plus 100 psionic energy points. The secondary cannon costs 1 point per shot. Yields a might of 1 and change. Needs 0 charge or buffer and upgrades for 100 points. Hull armor drains 1 per second for 11 defense. Upgrading it requires a strand of origin, 100 points, and a ton of refined iron. The psionic engine drains 1 per second but supplies 10. It needs half an hour to recover from an overload. It holds a pool of 1,000 points. Upgrades take 1 strand of origin, 100 points, and 5 life nuclei. The psionic shield drains 3 per second. Gives you 11 defense. With a total shield value of 110. It takes 30 seconds to charge and a full hour to recover from any overload. Upgrade cost matches the engine. The patrol radar drains 1 per second and reaches out 1 light second. It has 10 precision, upgrading on a wisp and 100 points. Then comes the psionic cultivation platform. This is the one that actually stops me. Drains per second and directly doubles cultivation speed. And that multiplier only works on Tier 0 life forms. Upgrading it demands 5 strands of origin and 10 life nuclei. All that earlier data is stuff I have known since I was a schoolboy. Needs 0 thought. But the platform matters. It is a core component of any kindling starship. That thing right there is the actual reason every single person in this civilization is so desperate to own a ship. Risking your life exploring an alien star region has one ultimate goal. And trust me, the goal is not sightseeing. What fuels the exploratory spirit of our civilization has always been the strange resources scattered out there. That naturally raises the next question. What is plundering all those resources actually for? Strengthening the kindling starship. Except that is not quite right either, or at least not everything. Upgrading the ship is unavoidable, sure, but that is just scratching the surface. What every captain alive is actually chasing is the sublimation of their own life level, which simply means longevity, living longer. Everybody knows a guiding technique pushed high enough will trigger a complete metamorphosis of your life level. Every single metamorphosis extends a lifespan. Everyone also knows that climbing higher makes the difficulty absolutely monstrous. Triggering that first shift alone feels like scaling the sky barehanded. Never mind trying for the ones after it. The psionic cultivation platform bound to every kindling starship solves that problem beautifully. It pushes the psionic guidance technique hard. Lets a captain climb at double, triple, or even faster speed, triggering that metamorphosis again and again. And the more the ship gets strengthened, the better the platform performs. So if we are being completely honest, no captain in this civilization actually cares about the kindling starship itself. They care about the platform bolted inside it. That is when I suddenly remember the all-attribute cultivation rooms sitting in the heavens market. Its bonus on psionic energy is 400%. Exactly double the platform I am staring at right now. Earlier, my entire attention went straight to that spacegate platform, so I just skimmed the rest. Recalling it now, everything I suppressed 20 minutes ago comes rushing straight back up. I know precisely what this means. It means the cultivation speed of my psionic guidance technique is going to leave every captain of my rank choking on dust. It means better odds for raising my life level, adding years. And it means that even if I never improve my flame seed quality, my personal cultivation just does not care, which is completely true. Still not a reason to abandon the ship, unless forced though. Strengthening the market and stocking goods both chew through resources, and monthly trade alone will never cover it. And a ruin. Market offers almost 0 firepower. But a properly beefed up kindling starship, that thing can lock down an entire floating continent solo. So I map out a rough strategy. The ruins market serves as my foundation, while the starship brings the muscle. One speeds up my life level evolution. The other brings the big guns. They grow together without clashing. With that hierarchy locked in, I pivot straight to upgrading the shuttle. Tomorrow is my first real exploration. Welfare backup or not, the prep work has to happen today. Careful sailing builds a ship that lasts 10,000 years. I never needed anyone to explain that basic rule. I pull the fire sunflower soldier treeing it right into place. At level 0, it sits at white quality. Cost? 50 psionic energy. It spawns 10 level 0 fire sunflower soldiers. Ageless puppets that literally stick around forever. If killed, they take a full day to respawn. Upgrading costs 5 origin wisps and 500 points. Time to check my stash. Besides the 1,000 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin from my folks, my account holds 2,400,000. Going by official principality rates, 10,000 credit points buys exactly 1 Tier 0 strand. All told, I have about 1,240 strands. Out of that, I must reserve at least 500 for the shopping run medical supplies, a basic nanobot repair, a fierce tiger Type 1 mining vehicle, the mounted exploration scanner, and other gear. That leaves roughly 700 for the shuttle. The first component is a total no-brainer, the psionic shield. Once active, it wraps the hull in a pure energy shell, the absolute primary defense for any kindling starship out there. I own the heavens market. I can raise my life level just by cultivating step by step. So staying alive in the void is my one and only priority. Except a single upgrade costs floating land origin, psionic energy points, and something called a life nucleus. I already know what those are. Across the shattered star sea, most dead life leave behind a special crystal. It holds the vast majority of their lifetime energy essence, that is your life nucleus. It operates as a truly universal resource. Countless civilizations fold it right into their currency systems, and this one is no exception. In any decent-sized chamber of commerce or family business, it spends just like cash. Same goes for the other common upgrade materials, like refined iron and floating land origin. So I say a quick hi to my parents and head straight out to Donggong Kindling Mall. It is just one of many such spots across Gangwon City. It has a few station merchants, entirely sufficient for a captain who just awakened this morning. 10 minutes of hard price comparison scores me the exact life nuclei I need. Instead of heading back home, I summon my shuttle right in the mall's upgrade zone and get to work. System prompt: are you sure you want to spend 1 strand of Tier 0 floating land origin, 100 psionic energy points, and 5 life nuclei to take the psionic shield from level 0 to 1? Confirmed. 4 rapid-fire upgrades later, the 1,000 points stored in the engine pool are completely wiped out. Luckily, refilling is fast. Running just the engine banks 9 points a second, maxing out in under 2 minutes. 2 minutes later, I hit upgrade again. The shield finally hits level 7. The final bill: 59 strands of Tier 0 origin, 56 Tier 0 life nuclei, and 2,800 psionic energy points. 49 of those strands paid for the upgrades, while the remaining 10 bought 100 nuclei. At level 7, the shield drains 10 a second, delivering 18 defense and a solid 180 shield value. It fully charges in 23 seconds, carrying a 46-minute overload cooldown. That is a massive, genuine improvement. I still do not feel safe. As a transmigrator, survival is practically carved into my very bones. So I move straight to upgrading the hull armor next. Its defense stats cannot quite match the shield, but it remains a crucial protective layer for any kindling starship, so I am definitely not ignoring it. A few short minutes later, it also hits level 7. Each armor upgrade eats refined iron, though. Reaching level 7 devoured 28 tons, pricing out at 1 Tier 0 origin strand per ton. The total armor cost comes to 77 origin strands, granting 18 defense for just 3 points a second. But with both shield and armor at level 7, their combined power draw completely overwhelms my current engine output. Meaning, if I actually want that shield running when I drop into an unknown star region, upgrading the engine is absolutely mandatory. 4 engine upgrades later, I am down to just 9 life nuclei, not enough for a 5th. So I drop 20 strands on 200 more. The engine tops out at level 7 for the exact same cost as the shield. Those 188 leftover nuclei go straight into shuttle storage. Now at level 7, it drains 4 a second, supplies 24, recovers from overload in 23 minutes, and holds 1,700 points. Next up after the engine is the psionic main cannon. Welfare deployment or not, alien life forms are crawling all over this place. Nobody can promise I will not run into one. I push it to level 5 for 25 strands and 500 points. That gives 20 per shot for a power of 16. Charging in 4 seconds and cooling in 8. The power goes up while both timings go down. That is a pretty solid trade. The last item is the patrol radar. This star sea is incredibly vast. The gap between one floating continent and the next easily spans light years. A strong radar is exactly what keeps a captain from getting hopelessly lost. Tracks down resource points like alien star region and asteroid belts fast. Honestly, its importance speaks for itself. It demands the same upgrade materials as the main cannon, so I push it straight to level 9. That costs 81 strands and 4,500 points. It drags the detection range up to 10 light seconds with an accuracy of 20. Now, as for why I do not just max it out at level 19, the ceiling for a colorless kindling starship. That colorless upper limit sits at Tier 1, spanning level 10 through 19. The reason is actually quite simple. This radar is a basic colorless unit that will definitely be replaced later. Any resources dumped into strengthening it vanish the second it gets swapped out. And frankly, I just do not have the funds. My original plan allowed roughly 700 strands for the shuttle. This upgrade run just ate over 300. That leaves me under 400, and the Fire Sunflower Soldier Tree is still waiting. White quality special components swallow way more resources than basic colorless hull parts. Just going from level 0 to 1 demands 5 strands and 500 points. That is a rather expensive habit. but I am strengthening it anyway. Those soldier puppets are going to keep me breathing for a long time. So I grit my teeth and drag it to level 10. Just like that, my 400 strands vanish down to 104. My exploration prep ends right there. I am saving those 104 strictly for emergencies. If things go south out there or something weird turns up, that is the cash that buys me a way out on the spot. What about strengthening the heavens market and the flame seed in my aperture? I think it over. Neither is urgent. Making sure I actually survive this first exploration has to come first. And hey, a welfare run might just pay off. Down at Tier 1, the Fire Sunflower Soldier Tree looks promising 100 psionic energy per unit. It summons 10 level 10 Fire Sunflower Soldier puppets. They stick around indefinitely as long as nothing kills them. It takes a full day to resummon after a death, and upgrading now requires Tier 1 origin. That means I can drop 10 Tier 1 puppets around myself whenever I need to. Absolutely loyal bodyguards that follow orders perfectly and do nothing else. As long as they survive the fight and I never recall them, they simply stay right there. Just thinking about that setup is way more satisfying than it should be. Once I calm down, I hit the shops again. I still need that heavy machinery. My target is the Eagle Machinery Shop on the top floor. They are a massive mechanical chain spread across the Morning Star Principality. Rumor says the main shareholder is Marquis Eagle, a seriously powerful noble. That means the quality of their gear is guaranteed. And as a guy whose 2 lives add up to almost 60 years, I can still talk people down. After a little sustained and completely dishonest pressure, plus the fact that I am genuinely buying in bulk, the young woman behind the counter cheerfully gives me 5% off. A primary interstellar universal medical kit for 500,000. A basic nano-robot repair kit for $1 million. Add a fierce Tiger Type 1 mining vehicle for $3 million, plus its exploration instrument for another 500,000. A basic Principality civilian exoskeleton for 200,000. 5,200,000 before the discount. 4,940,000 after. Will I pay in credits or floating land origin? I slide my entire 2,400,000 in credits across the counter. Then I pull 254 strands of Tier 0 origin from my aperture to finish it. The look on my face right now is nothing to be proud of. The young woman behind the counter is clearly enjoying my pain. Walking out of that mall with exactly 110 strands left to my name, I have a few major complaints. Honestly, the heavy machinery shops around here are absolutely black-hearted. Just look at the basic nano-robot repair kit. The effect is mediocre at best. It cannot even repair a kindling starship that took any real damage. Yet this mass-produced assembly line product, which takes zero effort to make, is priced at a full $1 million. The worst part? It comes with a strict usage limit and totally scraps itself after 3 uses. The medical kit is the exact same story. Weak effects and only 3 uses plus. The fierce Tiger Type 1 sells for $1 million in manual. Bolting an automatic driving system onto the thing literally triples the price. If I did not have extreme steadiness carved right into my bones, nobody would ever buy that thing. Nothing else really happens on the ride home. I refuse to waste the rest of the day. So I head straight into the all-attribute cultivation room inside the Heavens Market to grind my psionic guidance technique. Maybe my guiding technique hitting level 4 makes a level 0 room obsolete, or maybe level 4 is just that brutal to level up. Either way, something is off. Hours pass without a single scrap of visible progress. By morning, I force down some breakfast and head to the academy to meet up with my class. From there, the entire awakened class of Gangon First Kindling Academy heads out toward the suburbs together. My parents trail nervously behind the group, blending into a massive crowd of other anxious families. Along the way, we pass awakened kids from other academies. Being one of the 5 major cities on the White Tower floating continent, Gangon City oversees more than 20 million people and churns out over 100,000 students annually. With numbers like that, the city obviously runs way more than one Kindling Academy. The first academy skims the absolute elite off the top, but it still cannot hold every awakened student in the city. Going by past records, the number of kids who actually awaken each year sits around 1,000. Half an hour later, we reach the ultra-long-range deployment platform out in the suburbs. The crowd of Gangon City residents has already swelled past 5,000. This Alien Star deployment ceremony is one of the very few real events this city sees all year. A massive crowd turns up simply to watch the spectacle unfold. Add in the students, teachers, and parents, and the crowd swarming the platform easily pushes into 5 digits. 20 minutes pass. The district chief from the White Tower Kindling Bureau verifies that every graduating awakened student is present, and then the deployment kicks off. But the first academy does not go first. We are held back for the grand finale. Every 20 minutes, a massive pillar of light shoots straight up into the sky from the central urban area. Inside each of those pillars, 100 newly awakened graduates get hurled into the star sea, thrown across an unimaginable number of light years. Sunho and I are in the exact same batch. We step up together and summon our shuttles. Once 100 psionic shuttles line up side by side, the Kindling Bureau officer outside the platform finally gives the signal. A pillar of light a full kilometer wide erupts skyward. Those 100 shuttles vanish from the platform. Yet my parents and countless others refuse to leave. They just pull outdoor tents from their bags and start setting them up right there. The initial alien star exploration runs 24 hours, with an option to pull out early in an emergency. Not a single parent here is willing to go wait comfortably at home. A crushing wave of weightlessness forces my eyes shut. The vibration hits so violently the hull sounds like it is tearing apart. If I had not strapped into my harness, I really do not want to picture where I would be right now. The spinning and weightlessness finally ease up, but I do not wait to recover. I force my eyes open through the nausea and immediately trigger the psionic shield. My homeroom teacher repeated one line constantly and he was dead right. The alien races out in Star C are never going to politely wait for you to recover. A captain just has to be one step faster than whatever is staring back at him, whether the plan is fighting or running away. At level 7, my shield charges in 23 seconds. Once that black shell locks completely over the hull, I finally exhale. Only then do I push through the dizziness and check what is waiting outside. Why not just raise the shield before the jump? Well, that is another piece of absolute common knowledge. During an ultra-long-range deployment, the hull endures massive spatial compression. Any shield raised in advance simply overloads under that crushing force, without exception, because no energy shield ever built can actually match the raw power of the void. What an overloaded shield means for a kindling starship really does not need spelling out. A restart takes at least half an hour of buffering, sometimes even a full hour. During that long window, the ship is not totally defenseless, but its defenses drop by well over 2/3. The danger level spikes without a ceiling. Raising a shield before deployment remains a hard taboo for every single captain. I glance down at the display, and my brow furrows. The screen is pitch black. No stellar bodies. No floating continents anywhere. The radar confirms it. There is absolutely nothing large inside its range, no floating continent, not even one of those tiny debris belts. A sudden spike of unease hits me, but I shove it down. There is a far more urgent question right now. After triple-checking that nothing dangerous is lurking near the hull, I pull the Starsea market token from my chest and push psionic energy straight into it. That fierce Tiger Type 1 mining vehicle and its exploration rig are both sitting inside the ruins market right now. It has to work. I am screaming it internally. Whether the heavens market can actually open inside an alien star region is not just some minor detail. It essentially dictates the hard ceiling on everything I will ever achieve. There is simply no version of me staying calm about this. I keep feeding energy into it, but my stomach drops. The token does absolutely nothing. Just as I am about to give up entirely, that deeply familiar pull hooks my entire body. What I feel right in that second is not something I can describe with any real dignity. A split second later, I vanish from the shuttle. I reappear right on the street inside the Heavens Market. Not sticking around, though. I confirm the results, will myself out, and snap right back into the shuttle. Standing at the console, the only question that actually mattered is finally answered. Now I can focus entirely on the star region I just dropped into. During the early stages of a kindling starship, a captain gets exactly 24 hours in alien territory. If you want to scavenge resources, you cannot afford to waste a single second. The shattered star sea is insanely rich. Sure, but that does not mean rare materials are just lying around waiting to be scooped up. Scavenging means tracking down a resource point with high occurrence rates. You are basically looking for an asteroid belt, a small debris belt, or a star sea floating continent. This shattered star sea stretches for countless light years. One kindling starship out here is not even a grain of sand in the ocean. Pinpointing a resource cache in a single day is way harder than it sounds, which explains why everyone around here constantly repeats that a solid patrol radar beats everything. I throttle the level 7 engine up to max. The firmament shoots straight ahead at conventional cruising light speed, and I obsessively check the radar. Half an hour passes. Color drains from my face. Am I really this unlucky? Dropped into a void zone on my very first run. When the multiverse shattered millions of years ago, it left behind countless scattered fragments. But the shattered star sea is so massive that light years cannot even measure it. Those fragments cannot possibly cover everything. The empty gaps left behind are what everyone calls star sea void zones. Local civilizations basically use that term for any dead space over 10,000 light years across. No floating continents anywhere. Zero asteroid belts. No debris belts either, are so few they barely even matter. Every civilization avoids them. A sector with no stellar structures means absolutely zero resources of any kind. If I actually got dropped into one of these dead zones, then I am just ridiculously unlucky. Turns out I am not. Over an hour at light speed, and the firmament's radar finally picks up a decently sized debris belt. Immediately, I correct my course and burn straight toward it. A small debris belt is literally the lowest value resource point out there. You cannot even compare it to a floating continent, and it ranks way below an asteroid belt. But I am thrilled. Anyway, according to the official civilization data, the mortality rate for a kindling starship's first run into an alien star region is only 1 in 20. And of the 19 who actually survive, more than 7 out of 10 come home empty-handed. So I know exactly what this debris belt in front of me is really worth. I know perfectly well that where there is a debris belt, a floating continent has to be somewhere nearby. But I am absolutely not going looking for it. My goal is crystal clear. I am taking the belt right in front of me. This ship was just fused 2 days ago. Even with my parents backing it and a solid round of upgrades out here, where distance is measured in light years, it is a total drop in the bucket. That whole textbook rule about a floating continent being not far from a debris belt, it is relative. A fact the textbooks conveniently fail to stress. Because in reality, not far is way too far for a psionic shuttle to cross in 24 hours. If I went blindly hunting for that continent, my exploration window would likely snap shut before I even locked down the coordinates. And even if I got lucky and actually made it, I would have zero time left to scavenge a thing. Better to just farm the belt in front of me. Sure, it holds way less than an asteroid belt or a massive continent, but it is the only one I can touch right now. Plus, I still have a fierce Tiger Type 1 mining vehicle sitting over in the ruins market. If I cannot compete on unit price, I will just make up for it in sheer volume. Before long, the firmament hits the edge of the belt. I confirm it perfectly matches the textbook descriptions, and finally force my impatience down. First, I pull the basic Principality civilian exosuit from the hold and strap it on. Then I trigger the firmament's single special component. A full 1,000 psionic energy points drain from the pool. 10 fire sunflower soldier puppets instantly materialize. Every single one is over 7 feet tall and totally crimson from head to foot. They stand in a neat rank right in front of me, radiating intense heat. They are incredibly satisfying to look at. Those 10 Tier 1 puppets are the exact reason I am feeling confident about what happens next. Sure, they just hit Tier 1, but they are fully capable of defending the firmament against anything short of 5 Tier 1 alien creatures attacking at once. Their quality scans as white. Their current rank is Tier 1, capping out at a Tier 2 ceiling. Level 10, 0 active abilities. They just have one passive called Blazing Like Fire. It adds burn damage to any fire attribute puppet strikes. The system description calls them the product of some lost civilization. It rates their quality as fairly average, which I choose to just not take personally. I tell the 10 of them to spread out around me. Psionic light flashes between my brows, and just like that, the firmament under my feet vanishes right into the aperture. The very next second, all 11 of us are just hanging there in open star space. The crushing discomfort hits my entire body at once, and I instinctively hold my breath without even thinking. Being a Star C human with a level 4 guiding technique, my life level is still stuck down at Tier 0. I simply cannot adapt to this harsh environment. Surviving out here for any real length of time requires a life level past Tier 1. Luckily, there is 0 gravity. Plus, the earlier scan showed no special spores and absolutely no floating viruses. So 11 figures just hang there in dead silence. I order the puppets to hold their position and I vanish. 2 minutes later, I return and summon the firmament again. Except now, there are several large objects sitting heavy in its hold. Inside the cabin, I work alongside 2 of the puppets. We get the mining exploration scanner securely mounted onto the fierce Tiger Type 1. Then I bring the firmament inside and slowly push forward into the asteroid belt ahead. That asteroid belt stretches for tens of thousands of miles, packed with tumbling rock fragments of every possible size. One tiny slip of focus means a fatal collision, so cruising through here at light speed is completely off the table. Thankfully, we do not need to scan these space rocks one by one. With the new instrument fitted, the onboard system of the mining vehicle scans automatically. The second any rare mineral resource pops up inside a fragment within 6 miles of the firmament, the system alerts me. Creeping slowly forward, the alerts roll in steadily, but I ignore all of them. A black copper signature on a leftward fragment, estimated at roughly 200 pounds. A refined iron reaction on a medium fragment ahead, roughly 100. A gold reaction off to the left, roughly 400. The alerts keep coming, but it is all common material with pitiful reserves. Forget about ton scale. None of it breaks 600 or 700 pounds, making it totally worthless to mine. Stopping the psionic shuttle to deploy the fierce Tiger costs at least half an hour every single time, and often way more than that. wasting all that time just to extract a few hundred pounds of basic ore, which will not even equal a single strand of Tier 0 floating land origin. No sane person makes that trade. As for simply towing the entire rock back to the shuttle, that heavy lifting belongs exclusively to Kindling starships at the psionic class and above. I am still several heavily expensive years away from commanding one of those. About half an hour after the previous alert, the onboard system of the Fierce Tiger Type 1 mining vehicle chimes in once again. This time it flags a radiation signature for mithril ore on a fragment off to the left. The preliminary estimate sits above 10 tons. I am almost done ignoring the notification entirely before the actual word finally registers. Mithril trades for considerably more than adamantite out here. Adamantite averages just one strand of Tier 0 floating land origin per ton. Mithril pulls in 5. 10 tons of it equals 50 strands. And anyone who understands the market knows that 50 strands is a massive haul. The only reason I started this journey holding 1,000 strands is because both my parents are kindling captains. They basically dumped their life savings into my career. An average newly awakened captain might bring home roughly 100 strands from an entire expedition into an alien star region. What this alert just threw onto my screen is half a trip's profit buried inside a single rock. I immediately swing the firmament to the left without a second thought, creeping carefully toward those exact coordinates. I am in no rush at all. I keep half my attention locked firmly on the radar map the whole way. Ever since my guiding technique hit level 4, the physical gains have not been the only benefit. My mental processing power has grown just as much. Running 2 tasks simultaneously is the most basic advantage it actually gives a person. Word is that at genuinely high levels, someone can effortlessly handle 10 tasks at once. Honestly, I fully intend to test the truth of that rumor myself. A standard patrol radar cannot pick up life fluctuations, but it will still catch a high-tier star sea creature charging at full speed, or an incoming warship straight out of some alien civilization. The odds of either nightmare showing up during a simple first deployment are incredibly small. Nothing happens, and the firmament reaches the target fragment completely without incident. This rock is maybe 100 feet across, with a total volume way past the firmament itself. I do not drop the mining vehicle down immediately. Instead, I take the ship around it in a wide full circle. Only after I rule out every single risk I can think of do I finally land the shuttle onto the rocky surface. After that, my personal job is essentially over. The Fierce Tiger's onboard system walks itself out of the hold, locates the absolute strongest radiation point, and starts cutting. Back inside the cabin, I wait in silence. My face gives absolutely nothing away, but the wild excitement underneath it says everything. That mining vehicle was wildly expensive, but I have not regretted the purchase once since it started working. Any other newly awakened captain digging 10 tons of mithril by hand would burn at least 5 hours. The Fierce Tiger will wrap it up in 40 minutes. It actually takes 35. The vehicle rolls back into the hold, packing the full 10 tons. I hit the ruins market the second the token lets me. I dump the mithril in a corner and dive straight back into the hunt. 2 hours bleed by. The firmament is still crawling its way through the debris belt. Nothing since that mithril has been worth cutting the engines for. The value is garbage or the haul is tiny. Usually it is both. The instrument flagged 8 tons of adamantite ore a while back. That definitely tempted me because raw ore shrinks during refining. But 8 tons still nets 5 or 6 Tier 0 floating land origin. Something beats absolutely nothing when your only other option is drifting through this rock field praying for a hit. I am still chewing on that thought when the mining vehicle chimes in again. This time it pings a medium-grade purple-copper radiation field. Conservative estimate sits above 500 tons. My eyebrows shoot up and all that hesitation dies instantly. Purple copper is a pretty low-grade metal. The market pays about 1 strand of Tier 0 floating land origin per 5 tons. By weight, it is basically worthless trash. But massive weight is exactly what we have here. 500 tons at a total lowball. Strip mining the whole lot clears well over 100 strands. Any other low-tier kindling starship tripping over this field would just leave it. Most of them do not even carry a Fierce Tiger to begin with. Even the ships that do pack one have a math problem. How exactly do you cram 500 tons of scrap into a hold built for 100? I do not have to worry about that problem. Between the heavens market and the mining vehicle in my hold, I am taking every single ton of that purple copper. I move fast and hit the exact same routine. Circle the rock, make sure absolutely nothing is waiting to ambush me. Drop the vehicle and let it rip. Digging out hundreds of tons is fairly easy but incredibly slow. I am definitely not riding the pilot seat just to watch dirt fly. So, I rip the mining vehicle exploration instrument off the Fierce Tiger and haul it along. That lets me scan the surrounding grid while waiting, locking down the next target before this batch even finishes. Ripping that instrument out does slow the vehicle down slightly. But weighing that against running 2 jobs in parallel for hours, the trade-off is obviously worth it. Still, before I leave, I feel kind of uneasy. I drop 3 fire sunflower soldier puppets onto that fragment and order them to hold the line. A mining vehicle running at max output is brutally loud. I do not want to find out what that noise drags in. A few hours pass. The firmament drops speed a few hundred miles out from the fierce tiger. Then, the instrument flashes another report. The shipboard system stays completely silent, meaning it is not even worth an active alert. I slide out of the pilot seat to read the data myself. Mercury crystal. Roughly 20 pounds of it. That stuff is definitely worth more per pound than mithril. But 20 pounds does not justify a full drop cycle for the mining vehicle. It stays right where it is. Right at that moment, the patrol radar behind me starts spitting out broken, jagged alarm tones. I slam back into the console faster than I have moved all day. My eyes dart between the radar map and the main projection screen. Finding the source barely takes seconds. Deep in the belt, over 1,000 miles out from here. Several hundred fragments that have been dead motionless since before I was born just shifted position. All at the exact same instant. A debris belt does not just do that on its own. The patrol radar would never have pinged if it did. I narrow my eyes and I really hate what I am seeing. An energy spike strong enough to shove several hundred fragments at once? That is obviously no Tier 0 event. I can feel my neck muscles physically pulling back. Whatever is going down over there, I want absolutely no part of it. Being the market master of the heavens market means slow, steady development is my entire game plan. Gambling is genuinely not on my daily menu. But then that thought flips on its head. That energy release blows completely past Tier 0, but it is nowhere near Tier 2. This is a welfare deployment. The Kindling Bureau never drops graduating students into zones holding threats a psionic shuttle cannot walk away from. I turn my head. I look at the 7 fire sunflower soldier puppets lined up stiffly against the cabin wall. I mentally run the escape route twice. Both times I make it out of there in one piece. So I rip the controls and steer the firmament straight toward the anomaly. 1 hour later. The firmament sits completely dark behind a massive rock fragment, engines dead and tightly docked. That fragment runs over 60 feet on every single axis. It swallows the hull of the shuttle with room to spare. On the far side, there is a weird vacuum pocket trapped inside the belt. It is nothing like a Starsea void zone, mainly because its diameter barely hits 6 miles. Dead center of that pocket sits a flat rock fragment almost 3,000 feet across. I am guessing the disturbance the patrol radar picked up came straight from that rock. Whatever blew up there shoved every other rock in the pocket outward by thousands of feet, while the source itself did not budge an inch. How it happened stopped mattering to me minutes ago. What matters is the absolutely extraordinary thing sitting on that flat fragment right now. I know because I have watched for 10 minutes, and 3 separate waves of a winged alien race just dropped right onto it. The moment they landed, every single wave started slaughtering the ones already on the ground. Whatever this thing is, it is rare enough that a species will butcher its own kind for it, right in front of an audience. I would have to be completely dead inside not to be curious. Still, I am not moving yet. Several hundred of those winged creatures are swarming the fragment, and more than 10 of them are scanning as Tier 1. I am waiting for the shipboard system. It is currently running a background check against the public database. Every Kindling captain entering an alien star region downloads the open data on every Starsea race ever cataloged. The file is massive, so even a machine takes time to chew through it. Especially since the system in this tin can is the lowest grade of semi-automatic available. There is no getting around it either. Civilization regulations clearly state that a Kindling starship runs a semi-automatic system, nothing more advanced. And nobody argues with that rule once they actually read the history. The list of Starsea civilizations overthrown by their own AI waking up as pure mechanical empires is definitely not a short one. A few minutes later, the scan comes back. They are called the White-Winged Race. The entry labels them an extremely common void creature of the shattered Starsea. They can survive without a floating continent and move freely through the open void. Their main advantages: insane agility and frankly alarming speed. Their weakness is attack power. It is so weak that at an equal tier they actually struggle to dent a Kindling starship energy shield at all. I stare at that entry on the light screen for a bit, and an idea starts brewing, one I really would not call cautious. Right now, my Kindling ancestral aperture holds 110 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin and just under 200 Tier 0 life nuclei. Taking the Messianic shield from level 7 to 8 cost 15 strands and 12 life nuclei. 8 to 9 needs 17 and 13. 9 to 10 requires 50 and 40. Adding that up, pushing the shield all the way to Tier 1 cost 82 strands and 65 life nuclei. My current stash covers that with room to spare. Psionic energy points do not matter here, since those completely refill in just a few minutes anyway. Plus, a psionic shield at Tier 1 does not just get a tiny bump in value. It jumps straight to 1,000 points, which means 100 of the white-winged race attacking together are not breaking it inside any SP. Throw in 10 Tier 1 Fire Sunflower Soldier puppets, and the plan suddenly stops looking reckless. It just becomes simple math. I hesitate for a second. Then I stop hesitating. These were my emergency reserves. But if a fragment that several hundred aliens are dying over is not an emergency, I want someone to describe one to me. 4 rapid confirmations in a row. The shield component instantly climbs from level 7 to level 10. My reserves take the hit exactly as expected. I walk away with 28 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin and just over 100 life nuclei. Not exactly a comfortable number to be holding onto this far from home. The new stats panel makes up for it. Quality is still colorless. Consumption is 20 points per second. Defense is 99. Shield value is 990 out of 990. Recharge in 20 seconds. Cooldown after an overload is 40 minutes. The next upgrade demands 100 strands, 1,600 psionic energy points, and 50 life nuclei. There is exactly one genuine mercy in being stuck with colorless standard components. And this is it. Even past Tier 1, the psionic shield keeps taking Tier 0 floating land origin and Tier 0 life nuclei for upgrades. A white component, or anything higher, starts demanding exotic materials I could not possibly source in a year. Not that it helps me right now. The firmament's reserves are scraped totally bare, so there is absolutely no more upgrading happening today. Shield finished. I still do not move toward the fragment. Upgrading a single component does not make me feel safe, so I shut the shield down completely, sitting there while the psionic energy pool refills. Then I pull the firmament back out along the exact path I used to enter. Charging straight at hundreds of aliens with a full energy pool and zero plan is how mortality statistics get written. Plus, that infighting on the fragment is not ending anytime soon, so I double back for the fierce tiger. I collect the handful of deposits I logged earlier, planning to return here when just half an hour is left on the 24-hour window. That is the one window where I can commit to a strike and still walk away clean if it all goes south. If the battle is over by the time I return and the prize is gone, then it was never mine to begin with. I will not chase it. Over 10 hours later, I ease the firmament back to the edge of that small vacuum pocket. 30 minutes left on the clock. For me, that counts as being right on time. Down on the flat fragments, the white-winged race still numbers well over 200. Fresh waves definitely dropped in while I was gone. But the part I really hate is checking the tier count. Over the last 10 hours, the Tier 1 white-winged race haven't thinned out one bit. Their numbers actually spiked. There are almost 20 down there now. 20 Tier 1s should absolutely be enough to make me turn around. It buys exactly 1 second of hesitation. Then the firmament bursts out of the debris belt. A thick layer of black psionic shielding wraps tight around the hull. Engines scream way past their rated load. We cross the vacuum pocket at light speed, hanging over the flat fragment before the aliens even finish turning their heads. I aimed for the center on purpose. For hours, every single one of those 20 Tier 1 creatures has been circling that exact patch of ground by unspoken agreement. You do not have to be a genius to figure out exactly where the real prize is sitting. Hundreds of faces stare up, still processing the ambush. I ignore them, sweep the projection screen across the surface, and listen for the mining system behind me. The warning hits fast. Intense radiation source detected. Energy levels read strong Tier 1 with 3 estimates attached. A Tier 3 or higher life nucleus sits at 32% probability. A residual nuclear fusion core from a dead star C civilization at 48%. A Tier 1 floating continent origin core fusion body at 95%. I skip the first 2 instantly. Anything under 50% is useless noise, and every living captain knows it. Then my eyes hit that third line. My heart jumps right into my throat. I really did not expect this. Not from a fragment in a first welfare deployment. And definitely not from a debris belt that spent the last day tossing me black copper and refined iron in 300-pound lots. A floating continent origin core fusion body is the literal seed form of a floating continent origin core. That is the exact thing that churns out floating land origin continuously for its entire lifespan. Every single graded star C floating continent hides exactly one of them deep inside its foundation. Meaning, if the white-winged race and I had simply stayed away, that flat fragment below would have quietly swallowed its neighbors for the next 1,000 years. And when it finished, there would be a proper star C floating continent sitting here, complete with a name, coordinates, and someone's flag staked in the dirt. That is not happening now, and I refuse to pretend to feel bad about it. Even at the lowest grade possible, a Tier 1 origin core is something most races would cross a star region for. It forces the life level of specific organisms straight up. Counts as a mid to high grade star C exotic item all on its own. Plus, it is the absolute perfect material for forging high-grade energy cores. For the mechanical civilizations out in the Star Sea, the bidding war on one of these gets completely unimaginable. Because a core like this hands an ordinary mechanical being several ranks instantly, alongside an energy supply that effectively never runs dry. This specific one is bottom of the barrel. It would carry a mechanical life form to Tier 3 at the absolute ceiling. But to a kindling captain who awakened 3 days ago, and is still a Tier 0 ordinary person, the word ceiling does not apply at all, which leaves exactly one thought in my head. You do not just walk away from an event this unlikely. I am going to try for it. From the moment the firmament appeared, to the moment I finished sorting all that out feels like a lifetime. It took under 10 seconds. The several hundred white-winged race below used those exact 10 seconds to react. They raise their weapons in unison and hurl everything they have straight at my hull. The very creatures butchering each other over this fragment, a minute ago just unified instantly. An outsider in the sky changes everything, which is either admirable or deeply infuriating, depending entirely on which end of the guns you are standing on. I slam the joystick over twice and manage to slip most of the volley. Then I tilt the hull, lining the nose up on a crevice, about 30 feet across in the fragment below. We drop straight into it before the second volley even leaves their hands. Inside the crevice, the firmament dives fast. Watching the rock walls slide past tells me this split is brand new. It was almost certainly blown open by the energy eruption the patrol radar caught. That eruption itself had to come from the origin core, still evolving somewhere, deep under my keel. The energy inside an unformed core is completely volatile, making accidental releases like that entirely ordinary. A low buzzing starts crawling across the surface of the shield in tight ripples. The white-winged race is catching up. No matter how well I fly, a shuttle in a tight rock crack will never dodge a few hundred winged fighters. And I drop that delusion about 4 seconds in. The shield charge bleeds off the panel faster than I can track. 918, then 850, 766. My heart rate is totally abandoning protocol right now. But a few minutes down, I catch a lucky break. The mob on my tail thins out fast. When the wall's really close in, only 18 Tier 1 white-winged pursuers remain. Then I realize exactly why and the relief vanishes completely. The shield keeps draining at a steady clip even through stretches where absolutely nothing hits me. As the firmament closes on the core, the outside hull pressure simply skyrockets. The only reason I am not feeling that heavy crush in my own bones is because the shield is taking the entire beating for me. The enemies falling back did not lose interest. They just literally could not survive down here. The readout hits 499, and I just burned half my shielding merely reaching this depth. I grit my teeth and slam the stick down. The firmament accelerates so violently the rock walls smear into a blur. I have to reach that core before the shield completely dies, because my guiding technique is at level 4. With 0 Tier 1 isolation against an energy field pushing Tier 2 intensity, showing up late is exactly the same as showing up dead. Everything boils down to one brutal fact. The origin core must be inside this hold before the shield component totally overloads. I completely stop counting the wall impacts. I stop caring about the barrage still pouring down the crack behind me. My descent speed triples and the shield drain triples right along with it. 10 seconds later, at the absolute ragged edge of the firmament sensor range, the Tier 1 floating continent origin core fusion body finally reveals itself. My hand shoves the throttle forward on pure blind instinct. To anything outside, the shuttle turns into a streak of light slamming to a halt by the core. The thing radiates heat so intensely. My dashboard warnings are basically screaming. The cargo hatch of the firmament snaps wide open. A tractor beam shoots from the hull and locks dead onto the fusion body. The instant they touch, a massive wave of refusal blasts back up the line. Unmistakable. That is the raw instinct of the core fighting a binding force it absolutely hates. Thanks to that resistance, the extraction barely crawls. My eyes are glued to the psionic shield readout, and my reflection looks terrified. A second ago, the barrier dropped below 200. Now it sits barely above 100, and it is bleeding out at nearly 10 points every single second. And there is absolutely nothing I can do to speed this up. The firmament is just a standard Tier 0 psionic shuttle. What I am trying to drag aboard equals a peak Tier 1 entity. It feels like a pony, trying to haul a heavy freight wagon. Neither the psionic shield nor the fire sunflower soldier tree connects to the tractor beam to help me pull. The only reason I even gambled on this crazy grab is that the core is incomplete, meaning it lacks full instinct. Plus, a kindling starship converts any Star Sea exotic item brought inside into a completely harmless shipboard component, no matter how utterly lethal that item was before passing the hatch. 10 more seconds. The fusion body drifts close enough to the bay that I actually think this might work. Then a massive rush of displaced air blasts from behind me. A dozen heavy Tier 1 white-winged elites dive straight down the rock crack, dropping squarely on top of my ship. They actually learned a painful lesson during the chase. Since their strikes cannot crack this hull, they stopped aiming for the metal entirely. Now they are blasting straight at the extraction beam. My eyes go completely dead. I refuse to lose this prize. 8 feet from the hatch, I scream out the order to block. 10 fiery red figures erupt from the cabin. Tungsten alloy combat shields grip tight in their left hands, and tungsten alloy spears in their right. They take the blistering volley head-on and execute my command to the absolute letter. The metallic crash rings out in one continuous deafening roar. Not a single strike breaks through the defensive wall they just forged. I finally exhale the breath I held since the tractor beam locked on. Then I give them the order to attack at will. The fire sunflower soldier puppets step forward in unison. Shields locked, spears leveled, burning red light trailing off their metal bodies. And honestly, it is a genuinely gorgeous sight to watch from the pilot's seat. But I also know exactly how much of that is pure decoration. Sure, they can briefly shrug off the insane heat bleeding off the fusion body, but the exact second they clash against a squad nearly twice their size, they are going to die incredibly fast. They are level 10. That means entry-level Tier 1 fodder, and absolutely nothing else. Their tungsten alloy gear is respectably tough, yet pretty much garbage for doing real damage. But none of that matters right now. If they can just hold out for 5 seconds, that is enough. I never once expected them to actually kill anything. Time does something pretty unpleasant with itself here. Every single second stretches out. I watch the shield value drop to 56, then 47, then 37. Right as the panel almost hits 0, the Tier 1 floating continent origin core fusion body finally slides completely through the hatch. It is secured inside the firmament's hold. I shut the hatch, rotate the hull, and overload the engine. There is absolutely no time to see what this core has turned into as a component. And honestly, I do not have the mental bandwidth for it either. The second that extraction registers as a success, my mind blows wide open. Pushed by that extreme concentration, I accidentally break right past my own limits. And for a brief stretch, I am genuinely running 3 separate tasks at once. The engine roars to life. The firmament turns into a total climbing up the rift. This component can wait. Those puppets have to wait too. I am really not proud of that. But the only thing on my mind right now is the mouth of this crevice. Now that the fusion body is no longer projecting that massive energy field, the several hundred white-winged race waiting up there are completely unrestricted. My shield is essentially gone. The firmament is now in its weakest defensive state since my parents first bought it. It would not even take Tier 1 attacks to finish me off at this point. A few more hits from the Tier 0 ones would easily do the job. If those 10 puppets had not pinned down most of the Tier 1 creatures, I would be seriously considering hiding inside the Heavens Market. But I would only ever pull that move as an absolute last resort. Sure, hiding out in the Ruins Market completely guarantees my safety. But it also raises a terrifying question I cannot answer. Would a kindling starship's automatic return even trigger while I am standing inside that market? If it fails, I am not saved. I am just completely marooned. Every single test I ran over the last day and a half proves that entering and leaving the market keys to my own coordinates. I always come out exactly where I went in. Missing that automatic return would trap me. I would just shuttle between an unnamed star sector and a 300-foot market forever totally cut off from kindling territory. I refuse to accept that fate, and I do not even need to think about why. The monthly market sessions would keep resources flowing in, so that was never the issue. The real problem is this shattered star C. It runs entirely on brutal strength, and a guy with no civilization backing him is already dead. Personal power does not mean much. Anyone standing outside a mid to high civilization with 100,000 years of history cannot comprehend how deep those reserves actually go. The firmament goes flat out, but the white-winged race still manages to land hits directly on the hull. The main cannon and the secondary ones keep firing backward, blasting the whole way up. Some shots hit the pursuit directly, but most hit the rift walls behind me. That falling blast debris fills the crevice and buys me some badly needed distance. Yet against these kind of numbers, it is like scooping water from a raging river. The psionic shield finally gives out and shatters completely. Now those attacks are slamming into the bare hull. The one thing I actually got right yesterday was not stopping at the shield. I managed to push the hull armor to level 7 as well. Level 7 armor is nowhere near as tough as a Tier 1 shield, but it will definitely hold out for a while against anything below Tier 1. For exactly 1 second, I pat myself on the back that no Tier 1 white-winged race caught up. Then the firmament's tail bucks so hard it throws me straight against the safety harness. One of them actually charged up the crevice right behind me. It just drove an attack straight through my engine housing. The system warning flashes immediately. Hull armor damage at 34%. Hull damage at 13%. Prepare as soon as possible. Those numbers literally steal my breath for a second. The white-winged race are supposedly weak attackers, and my own damage log proves it. That dozen or so Tier 0 hits from earlier barely scraped away 6% of the armor combined. But weak is just a statement about their tier. An attack that crosses into a full higher tier is an entirely different beast. This guy stripped a quarter of my armor off with a single throw. 2 or 3 more hits like that, and the hull itself will start cracking. And that does not just magically repair. I order the shipboard system to trigger the basic nanobot repair kit, never letting my eyes off the climb for a single heartbeat. My plan does not have to be overly complicated. If I can just clear this rift, I can punch the starship into light-speed cruise. No matter how fast a Tier 1 white-winged race is, its physical body cannot hit light speed. Hull armor 36%, hull 14%. Nanobot repair kit engaged, armor recovered 3%, hull armor 35, hull 12. These automated warnings and repairs keep trading places with each other over and over, all while the rocky walls blur past. I have absolutely no clue how long this goes on. Then the firmament shudders hard again, and the system warning tone changes completely. Hull severely damaged. Armor at 80% damage. Hull at 62. Once hull damage passes 80%, the starship completely loses its ability to maneuver. That second strike from the Tier 1 creature tore my hull down past half in a single blow. And yet I can feel my face stretching into something dangerously close to delight. In that exact same breath, the firmament shoots out of the rift, bursting right back into open space above the fragment. Without even a conscious thought, the engine redlines into overload. Below me, several hundred of those white-winged freaks let out a collective, piercing hiss. Then they hurl every attack they have at me, even the Tier 1 monster joins in. If that barrage connects, my hull damage blows past 80%. I stop being a pilot and instantly become cargo. But the firmament is faster. Before those 100-odd strikes can close the gap, the shuttle blurs into a streak of pure light and vanishes. We snap back into reality at the far edge of the void zone. I refuse to let up until I am safely deep inside the debris belt again. When I finally let out a breath, the exhaustion crashes down on my brain like a massive dropped weight. Down inside that rift, my focus shattered a physical limit I never even knew I had. I never noticed it happening simply because I could not afford to. Now that my guard is down, the bill comes due. Honestly, I am not alarmed at all. Humming right underneath that crushing fatigue is something dangerously close to excitement. The golden rule states a kindling captain stuck at Tier 0 can manage 2 tasks simultaneously. That holds true even with a guiding technique at level 9. Handling 3 tasks requires level 10 or higher, plus a life level that has officially undergone sublimation. My technique is only level 4. What just happened back there was absolutely not skill. It was me burning mental energy way faster than I can produce it. This intense lethargy afterward is simply the universe settling the task. Plus, it is not something every kindling citizen below level 10 can pull off just by concentrating really hard. The real odds are closer to 1 in 10,000. Hitting that limit-breaking state takes perfect timing and a very specific kind of raw talent buried deep down. People who master this are so incredibly rare that society has a special word for them: gifted. And that right there is exactly where my excitement comes from. Still, one lucky accident does not mean I mastered anything. But feeling it once gives me supreme confidence that relentless practice will carry me the rest of the way. I steered the firmament through the belt for several more minutes, making absolutely sure we shook off any pursuers. Finally, I touched down on a small rock fragment. By my count, automatic return is only minutes away. Since I have a moment, I turn to inspect the fire sunflower soldier tree, literally the only special component equipped on my ship. 7 of the 10 glowing points of light have gone completely dark. That tells me 7 of my fire sunflower soldier puppets died at the bottom of that abyssal rift, while only 3 are still standing down there. I do get a decent consolation prize, though. Sometime during my manic flight, 2 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin secretly materialized inside the firmament stores, meaning those 7 doomed puppets dragged 2 Tier 1 white-winged monsters to hell with them. This happens to be the other way a kindling starship farms floating land origin. An origin core continuously generates it on its own, but slaughtering hostile alien creatures inside a foreign star region rewards it too. Because those puppets spawn from a component physically mounted to the firmament, any blood on their hands officially counts as the ship killing it. One Tier 1 white-winged freak paying out exactly 1 strand sounds insulting until you remember earning that single strand the normal way takes 10,000 Tier 0 kills. While I am mentally crunching that arithmetic, the final 3 lights flicker out in quick succession. Now all 10 of my puppets are completely wiped out. I hardly feel anything about the loss, and frankly there is zero reason to. Death does not mean gone for a fire sunflower soldier puppet. It just triggers a 24-hour cooldown before I summon them right back. With that minor issue settled, I step back into the cabin. I have been itching to check out that newly converted component since the exact second the outer hatch sealed. I walk inside and my eyes widen before I even reach the prize. The component sits near the door, small enough to comfortably fit in the palm of my hand. But the size does not matter. The only thing that matters is the ambient glow radiating off it, a brilliant deep purple. The Tier 1 floating continent origin core fusion body has transformed into a kindling starship component, a level 0 atomic fusion nuclear engine. Pure purple quality. I only get about that far before a faint sensation of weightlessness hits and rapidly builds. I know exactly what that feeling means. I drop the diagnostic panel instantly and sprint back into the pilot seat as fast as my legs can carry me. I am still yanking the safety harness closed when the weightlessness peaks entirely, and the entire universe begins violently spinning around me. Far out on the hazy outskirts of Guan City at the ultra-long-range Star C deployment platform, the waiting crowd is vastly thinner than the massive ocean of people standing there just yesterday. Still, it hovers close to 3,000. Almost every single face shares the exact same tight expression, the anxious look parents and grandparents wear when the waiting game stretches on way too long. Successfully awakening a flame seed and seizing full command of a kindling starship is the absolute ultimate shortcut in this civilization. It lifts an ordinary family straight to the top in one single step, but the road it opens is never smooth. It is violently paved with jagged thorns from end to end. Calling an alien star region exploration a mix of danger and opportunity is just being polite. If we are being honest, it is a straight bet on living or dying. Every parent standing on that field knows those odds. They sign the consent forms anyway. For an ordinary citizen, this is one of the only real doors that ever opens. If just one child pushes even slightly further down the kindling starship road, they drag their entire bloodline up with them. Spawning a captain turns a basic household into a kindling family. A name that echoes for centuries. The humming builds. Then the light pillar finally crashes back down. When it clears, nearly 100 psionic shuttles are parked on dirt that was empty a second ago. The first batch sent out yesterday morning was exactly 100. 94 made it back. Kindling Bureau agents swarm the platform shouting for students to clear out. The incoming shuttles need the space, so the hulls lift away one by one. Almost 2 hours later, every awakened student Gangan City launched this year is home. The City Bureau drops the official count that afternoon. 12 successful awakenings this year, plus every single one of those 32 deployed on the welfare exploration. 980 of them came back. That leaves 52 who either died out there or vanished for reasons nobody will ever know. By the standards of civilization, that is totally unremarkable. But the air on that field stays incredibly heavy. Standing on that platform, it does not feel like a statistic. It feels like 52 living people from yesterday. That heavy feeling does not survive the ride back to school. Inside the hovercars, First Academy students are shouting over each other before the doors even seal. And the awakened group chat for Class 255 is practically deafening. Yukio from Class 10 kicks things off, asking what everybody hauled back. Juro from Class 3 claims his luck was actually decent. He spawned inside an asteroid belt and mined 30 tons of uranium ore. Zhang Cho from Class 4 immediately whines about being envious. He does the math out loud. 1 ton of uranium trades for 8 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin. That makes 30 tons worth 240 strands. Meanwhile, Zhang Cho only found refined iron, and under 60 tons of it. Sunho throws his own jealousy into the mix, begging literally anybody to carry him. I scroll through the entire thread. Then I look sideways at the massive guy taking up most of my seat and ask what he actually harvested. Keeps tapping away on his communication bracelet and mutters quietly, 50 tons of gas ore. My eyebrows twitch. The corner of my mouth pulls into a totally uninvited grimace. Gas ore is a high-tier resource. You need it to strengthen certain high-quality starship components, so the price stays permanently locked up. On the open market, 1 ton clears about 10 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin. So I ask him straight up, how does a guy sitting on 500 strands find the energy to envy anyone else? Sunho kills the light screen. He slings his left arm over my shoulders like he is draping a jacket over a chair. Then he laughs and says I still do not know him at all. Showing off in front of others does absolutely nothing, he claims. And keeping a low profile is his lifelong motto. I stare down at the arm crushing me. It is literally thicker than my thigh. Sunho stands 6.5 feet tall and weighs somewhere north of 330 pounds. He is the most glaringly obvious object in any room he enters. The phrase low profile does not belong anywhere near him. He totally ignores my deadpan stare and demands to know what I brought back. 10 tons of mithril, I reply, pushing the fake number out without a second of hesitation. It is not that I want to lie to Sunho. It is just that 600 tons of purple copper cannot be explained by any excuse I could possibly invent. I know perfectly well that the heavens market is the one secret that can never ever slip out. Because what waits on the other side of that reveal is just endless, lethal trouble. A hub that lets someone trade freely with alien civilizations across the entire shattered star sea? That kind of value does not have a ceiling. The atomic fusion nuclear engine stays hidden for the exact same reason. A purple quality engine part is worth a fortune by itself. It would draw exactly the kind of heat I am not strong enough to survive yet. Whether it ends up in my own hull, or gets fenced through the black market or the heavens market, I still haven't decided. Though honestly, I already know which way I am leaning. A purple engine would carry my ship for a very, very long time, right? Then a message lands in the group chat that completely kills the mood in the car. Dong Chang from Class 1 just posted a basic component, blue quality main cannon, a superconducting laser cannon. He invites anyone interested to message him privately, leaving the item's attribute panel pinned right underneath. Level 0. Quality blue. Consumption is 20 psionic energy per shot. Attack 15, charging in 5 seconds with a 10-second buffer. The first upgrade costs 3 strands of 0 floating land origin and 300 psionic energy. The group chat absolutely loses it. Somebody demands to know if it is fake, or if he really just pulled a blue main cannon from a basic welfare deployment. Someone else points out they do not even own a single white component, and now they are supposed to stare at a blue one. It is not just the students. The head teacher of Class 2, Huang Guqi, drops a message in the open channel. He says if Dongchang really wants to sell, they can talk face-to-face once everyone gets back to the academy. Something shifts behind my eyes, but I keep my expression dead flat. Sun Ho groans in my ear, saying only a total idiot would sell a blue-quality main cannon instead of equipping it. I just shake my head. I do not agree at all. Everyone has their own strategy. A blue cannon deals incredible damage, but a Captain 2 broke to upgrade it might simply never come back from their next run. The cash he pulls today could let him upgrade his entire psionic shuttle across the board, massively boosting his survival odds for every future trip. You give up some things to gain others. As long as the seller decides the trade is worth the cost, that is the end of the discussion. Before Sun Ho can even reply, clapping starts up right behind us. We both turn around. The guy clapping is Wang Wan. Besides Sun Ho, he is the only other student in Class 5 to awaken a white-quality flame seed. He stands up from the back, still smiling, and tells us that it was well said. He claims that giving up some things to gain others is exactly his view too. Then he wedges right into the seat beside us, chatting away like we have been tight friends for years. He blames various circumstances, he says, for keeping us from hanging out much over the last 10 years. But things are totally different now. Only 16 students in our class actually awakened, and after this welfare run, there are only 15 left. I listen to his entire act without saying a word. Then I quietly stand up and grab another seat. It is completely obvious Wang Wan came down this aisle for Sun Ho. I am just background scenery. Having lived through 2 lifetimes, I can spot his angle with my eyes closed. He wants to build a faction inside the class, and as one of the 2 white flame seed awakeners, he would naturally be the boss. That boosts his reputation and turns everyone into future resources. I have absolutely zero interest in joining, though I do not blame him for trying. For a guy with no real power and no backing family, finding a group to climb the ranks with is the most logical move available. The auditorium of Gang 1 First Kindling Academy. Almost 200 students in the seats, while the principal talks himself hoarse up on the stage. This is the very last assembly our graduating class will ever sit through. After this, we get our degrees and scatter completely. Some of the kids sitting in these seats will die, exploring an alien star region before the year is out. Others will never fly a shuttle again. They will spend their entire lives on psionic cultivation platform banking hours until they finally hit Tier 1 and live out 2 comfortable centuries. And a rare few will soar like a dragon finding water, flying high with nothing to stop them for the rest of their days. Whatever happens next, none of us are ever coming back to this room. That chapter is closed forever. My focus is miles away from most of it. The second the assembly ends, I turn down Sun Ho, Wang Wan, and anyone else trying to hang out. I head home much faster than is polite. The bedroom door clicks shut and I am inside the Heavens Market a split second later. The stall area that was just bare dirt yesterday is completely buried under ore. It is not just the mithril and purple copper. There is adamantite and cold iron too. Mostly in lots under 10 tons, though the adamantite pushes closer to 30. Adding the entire massive pile up with the mithril and purple copper from earlier. I am standing on roughly 350 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin. That is no massive fortune, but it helps to remember the normal baseline. The average haul for a shuttle-class kindling starship coming out of one alien star region run is barely 100. And none of that math includes the purple component, which reminds me I never actually checked its stats properly. I summoned the firmament right out in the open because it has been hours since I got back. And that atomic fusion nuclear engine has been itching at the back of my brain this whole time. Atomic fusion nuclear engine, level 0, quality purple. Its characteristic boosts energy supply efficiency by an extra 20% per second. Supply is 36 per second. A 30-minute buffer post-overload. And an energy pool storing 5,000 points. It even lists as convertible into a Tier 1 floating continent origin core fusion body. Upgrading requires 5 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin, 500 energy points, and 5 Tier 0 life nuclei. My eyes light up reading it. This thing earns its purple grade without a single enhancement. Its base stats already crush a level 7 psionic engine. The part that really matters is that extra trait. That flat 20% boost is something only elite components carry. As the enhancement level climbs, that percentage scales right up with it. I don't even want to guess what that stat line looks like at level 10. Then I check the convertible column, the part practically everyone just skips. It tells you the exact exotic item this component used to be. Every single colored shipborne component out there? It started as a Star Sea exotic item at some point. Feed a Tier 1 floating continent origin core fusion body to a kindling starship, boom. It becomes a component. The second it leaves the ship, it turns right back into a Tier 1 origin core. But even after reading the specs, I keep my standard psionic engine. The purple one stays out. And no, it has nothing to do with the word nuclear. On paper, it looks totally unrelated to psionic energy. But that illusion breaks the second you slot it in. From then on, the flame seed forces whatever power it generates straight into psionic energy. Totally automatically. I hold off for 3 reasons. First, the exploration just wrapped. The next deployment isn't for another month, so there is zero rush. Right now, the firmament isn't running any heavy-duty components that my current psionic engine can't easily feed. But the final reason seals the deal. I am about to crack open the heavens market for the very first time. I need to see what a Tier 1 floating continent origin core fusion body actually pulls on the open exchange. Some random alien species might just drop way more cash for it than I'd ever get locally. Sure, the odds are slim, but trying is completely free. With my head finally clear, I start mapping out exactly what needs doing before the market officially opens. Here is the first problem. The ultra-long-range random spacegate deployment platform is exactly what it sounds like, totally random. Meaning I have absolutely no idea what species walks through those gates, which means I have to be completely ready for all of them. It comes down to stocking the shelves in advance with goods from the Kindling Human Civilization items that are cheap here, rock-solid quality, and universally liked. Tungsten alloy combat shields. Tungsten alloy spears. Both hit like trucks and cost practically nothing back home. Basic gene optimization potion. Human society hands this stuff out to everyone for pennies. But for any alien who has never taken a dose, the results are insane. And life nuclei, the one currency used across every corner of the shattered Star Sea. Make no mistake. I am not playing charity for whichever alien race gets lucky enough to find my gate. I plan to mark every single item up by 3 times the base cost. Maybe even 5. The entire hustle of trading with deep space races comes down to one single concept: arbitrage. Exploiting the difference. An hour of brutal planning later, I am satisfied. I summon the firmament back and get straight to hauling ore. I barely have a few dozen strands left to my name right now. Stocking up takes real capital, which I severely lack. Plus, the ore was always meant to be fenced anyway. The only massive headache in this whole plan? 600 tons of purple copper. Moving that kind of bulk takes several trips minimum. And hauling it is actually the easy part. Offloading it completely under the radar? That is what I can't solve yet. Sold normally, it might go totally unnoticed for years. But the absolute second anyone digs into my background, it is the very first red flag they hit. A student awakens. 2 days later, he hauls 600 tons of purple copper back from his first run. Meanwhile, a standard psionic shuttle maxes out around 100. No cover story on Earth survives that math. I have to fix this glaring hole before someone else starts asking. Back to the Donggang Kindling Mall, just down the road from the Donggang residential district. Top floor, the Eagle Machinery Shop. The young woman behind the counter manages the whole floor, wearing this perfectly polite, practiced smile. 10 tons of mythal, 34 of adamantite, 15 of mercury crystal, and 45 of purple copper. All calculated at 70% of market price. That totals just under 178 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin. She smoothly offers to round to 178. I push back. I tell her 70% is practically a robbery, and that most competitors in this mall buy at 80. That corporate smile stays glued to her face. She says absolutely nothing. The message is painfully clear: if I want 80%, I can hunt for it somewhere else in the building. Hitting a brick wall like that leaves zero room for haggling. So I pivot and flank her instead. Here is my counteroffer. She buys my stock at 80%, and I drop every single strand right back across her register before walking out. The Eagle Machinery Shop immediately takes the deal. I keep my word, all 203 strands flow straight back into her inventory. 1,000 tungsten alloy combat shields. 1,000 tungsten alloy spears. Add in 1 star C universal translator, alongside 100 vials of basic gene optimization potion. Getting it all loaded into the firmament cost me another 17 strands on top. Unsurprisingly, she refuses to round that number down. Down in the southern suburbs of Gangan City sits a massive famous green space known as East Mountain Forest Park. Every single holiday, massive crowds of locals flood the place just to walk the trails. Most people have zero clue that right behind the park, hidden in a zone they will never even look at, sits the absolute largest black market in Gangwon City. For the elites who actually pull the strings here, this place is just an open secret nobody mentions aloud. Gangwon City desperately needs a spot like this. Honestly, so does every other city out there. And it goes beyond just us, from the White Tower floating continent straight to the furthest borders of Kindling Civilization territory. There is not a single habitable floating continent without its own underground market. It acts exactly like a shadow. The brighter the city stands in the daylight, the bigger the dark shape it throws right behind itself. I only know the way inside because my father dragged me down here once years ago. I came back on my own a few times after that. Tonight, nothing about me screams first-time visitor. I walk in completely disguised, keeping my firmament-registered name masked from any outside scans. I dump over 500 tons of purple copper in staggered batches across multiple shops. The sequence runs flawlessly across different market quarters from start to finish without a single break. The prices down here match their brutal reputation perfectly, and 65% of market rate is the absolute best offer I get. There is pretty much nothing I can do about it. I am just a freshly awakened kindling captain with 0 established channels of my own. Taking this loss is simply the cost of doing business without answering questions. 550 tons of purple copper should pull a market value of 110 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin. I leave with 71. I head back to the kindling mall, grinding my teeth, and convert all 90 strands I have on hand into Tier 0 and Tier 1 life nuclei. Somewhere in the middle of that painful transaction, I swear a quiet promise to myself: the ruins market is going to pay this debt back with serious interest. 700 Tier 0 life nuclei and 20 Tier 1. 720 pieces in total disappear into the firmament. With that done, my setup for opening the ruins market is practically finished. I have zero reason to stay outside. Once home, I warn my parents that the whole exploration drained me mentally way worse than expected. I tell them I need a solid day or two of deep sleep. The second they agree to give me some space, I head straight for my bedroom. I do not open the market. I hit the bed instead. The sheer physical crash after hitting a limit-breaking state is no joke. Honestly, if I did not have urgent deals that absolutely could not wait, I would have collapsed hours ago. 20 hours later, I finally wake up, not perfectly recovered, but feeling massively better than before. Half an hour inside the Heavens Market gets yesterday's entire haul neatly sorted across all 10 shops. The second I am happy with the layout, I march down the whole length of the street toward the ultra-long-range random space gate deployment platform at the end. Right behind me, 10 fire sunflower soldier puppets march in 2 tight ranks, spilling harsh red light off every frame. Since a full day has burned by, the fire sunflower's soldier tree has completely finished its buffering cycle. I step up to the platform and tap the console. But before the deployment triggers a system prompt flash, it detects that this specific ruins market is opening for the very first time in 10,000 years. So it hands me the right to manually set the target region for 1 space gate. My heart does a heavy flip against my ribs. Exactly 7 words rush up and echo through my entire skull: the territory of a mechanical race civilization. 24 hours ago, an offer like that would mean nothing. Now everything is changed. That Tier 1 floating continent origin core fusion body in my hold is basically a holy energy relic to any living member of the mechanical race. You cannot even compare what it means to them versus what it is worth to anyone else out there. I flip open my comm bracelet and load up an offline alien star region civilization and creature database I snagged earlier. It runs perfectly off-grid, letting me filter down to the handful of mechanical civilizations tracked inside. I select a set of coordinates. Then I fire up the platform. The deployment base starts shaking violently as 10 blinding points of light ignite across the dark metal. Then they launch. All 10 streak upward, punching through the market's half-dome energy shield and scattering straight into the silent void until the very last trail vanishes completely. Just dozens of seconds later, 10 swirling vortex-shaped spatial tiers silently rip open right inside the market's main entrance zone. I park the 10 fire sunflower soldier puppets in front of those gates and install the Star C universal translator at the ruins market boundary. The odds heavily favor totally unrelated alien species stepping through. If any of them are isolated enough that the Starseed common tongue never reached their world, that translator is my only defense against a room full of wild hand gestures. For the final step, I pull rank as Market Master to project a massive light screen near the entrance. The official Heaven's Market trading rules scroll right across it. That screen is woven directly out of the underlying laws governing this secret space, meaning it completely bypasses language barriers. No matter what crawls out of those portals or what organs it uses to see, it will instantly comprehend every rule the exact second it looks. That screen is packed with rules, and the one sitting right at the very top is just 4 words long. Mutual consent, free trade. The second is even shorter. It strictly forbids any fighting or conflict. Everything past those two is pretty loose. Nobody sensible would actually complain. Together, they keep the basic order of the whole ruins market from collapsing, while completely by coincidence protecting my profit margins. The third rule slaps a 10% transaction tax on every single trade made inside here. The fourth says anybody struggling with the language can use the universal translator at the entrance for a flat fee of 1 Tier 0 life nucleus. The 100th and final rule states this ruins market session runs for 24 hours. Right now, the countdown reads 23 hours, 58 minutes, and 27 seconds. Setup complete. I wander right into my own market just like any other customer. I drop the Market Master act entirely. I play the part of a curious kid who just got lucky with a space gate, openly staring at every storefront on the street. It doesn't take long. A faint spatial ripple shimmers right near the entrance. A creature with a human body and a bull's head steps out of a gate. It clutches a heavy spiked club, snapping its gaze in every direction at once. Since I own the place, the notification hits me the exact second it crosses the threshold. But I don't turn around. I just keep casually drifting between the shops. This place just opened. Somebody has to demonstrate exactly how a customer behaves, or every single creature that follows is going to just stand at the entrance without a clue. The act works perfectly. The bull-headed creature finishes reading the rules off that glowing screen. Then it spots a much smaller figure wandering shop to shop, completely unbothered by the danger. So it starts doing the exact same thing, quickly scanning the goods in every storefront it passes. I catch this out of the corner of my eye. I pull up the Star Sea Creature Encyclopedia on my bracelet, and the search results ping back almost instantly. They are the bull-headed race. The database calls them a common orcish species across the shattered Star Sea, with the vast majority still living in a primitive tribal era. Their main advantage is a culture built on raw force and individual combat power. The entry actually calls it astonishing. The weakness? Technological development is basically non-existent. Every single thing this species accomplishes relies purely on their physical bodies. My eyebrows shoot up and the tightness in my chest lets go. Because reading that tells me at least one of my 10 gates actually touched down on a populated floating continent somewhere. Which means this session isn't going to end with me standing totally alone on an empty street. And it very easily could have. From what I read about the Heavens Market, the deployment platform follows absolutely zero rules when dropping gates. There is completely no requirement for a gate to land on inhabited dirt. The system is perfectly happy ripping open a portal in an empty starry sky or the dead center of an uninhabited asteroid belt. Past owners have booted up this market and had exactly 0 customers walk through. The odds of a dead market are highest during the Tier 0 phase, with only 10 gates scattered across the entire shattered Star Sea. Meanwhile, the Tier 0 bull-headed creature reaches the shop, displaying the basic gene optimization potion. It stares at the glowing screen in the center, carefully reading what the potion actually does. Its heavy face suddenly opens up into pure rapture. But then it remembers where it is and the deep wariness slams right back down. It mutters something out loud. And because I am the absolute master of this place, the words pipe directly into my ears from a completely different shop. I don't look confused at all. It isn't speaking the language of our Kindling Human Civilization. It is the Starsea Common Language. And a guy with over 20 years of higher education under his belt understands that dialect without breaking a sweat. What it actually wants to know is pretty simple. How can it guarantee these gene optimization potions do exactly what the screen promises? I chew on that for a second. Then with a flick of my thoughts, the light screen in that shop immediately rearranges itself. It shifts into one crystal-clear sentence written in Starsea Common Language. It can pay a deposit and test one itself. The bull-headed face tightens up. As an elite warrior of the Grey Bull tribe, it values its own life way too much. It is not remotely willing to be the first idiot to chug down some weird liquid from a totally unknown shop. It has absolutely no way of knowing if the potion is a genuine power boost or straight-up poison. It stands there having an intense inner argument. But then a sudden noise flares up outside the market, and its entire posture snaps rigid. It knows exactly what that sound means. Other creatures have just walked into this heaven's market. After that, the luxury of hesitation is completely gone. It digs 50 Tier 0 life nuclei out from somewhere on its body, slams them onto the counter as a deposit, grabs a vial, and downs the whole thing in a single gulp. The very next second, a massive, comforting wave of heat starts spreading through its veins, sinking deep into every single inch of muscle it has. That heat repairs and remakes every single cell it hits, while blinding pain erupts from everywhere at once. 2 minutes later, it opens its eyes, flashing a sheer sharpness it can no longer hide. Its body carries raw strength it never had, and its physical condition has surged by nearly twice the limit. The look on its face says it all. It has never felt anything like this before. The second it catches its breath, the creature demands all 99 of the remaining potions. It starts grabbing for more life nuclei, which an elite warrior of the Grey Bull tribe clearly has plenty of. Heavy footsteps approach from behind. A voice speaking fluent Star Sea common language tells it to wait. It also wants to buy that gene optimization potion. The being stepping into the shop has this massive head held up by just 2 thick tentacles. That head makes up well over 9/10 of its body weight, a truly memorable sight, and its intention is completely obvious. It has not tested the vial at all. It did not need to. The bull-headed creature's current state told it absolutely everything. A new line flashes onto the shop's center light screen, stating that each customer may only buy 10 at a time. Out on the street, I just completely failed to find that big-headed creature anywhere inside the Star Sea Civilization and Creature Encyclopedia, which means the Kindling Human Civilization has actually never cataloged this specific species at all. But that is not what is bothering me. What bothers me is if I knew the basic gene optimization potion would move this fast, I would have bought a whole shipload instead of 100 vials. 5 times the price. Nothing in this or any other civilization turns your capital over faster than flipping for 5 times the base price. So I threw up that limit of 10 per customer. The stock is what it is. Selling 100 vials to 2 buyers an hour, one is worth way less to me than spreading them out. Spreading them thin gets people talking about this market. It plays out exactly as I expect. The bull-headed and big-headed creatures each grab their 10 and sprint off, and neither is heading home. They are rushing to fetch their people. Hours pass, and the creature count inside the ruins market swells to several hundred. Under the watch of 10 Tier 1 fire sunflower soldier puppets, hundreds of beings from a dozen unrelated species behave better than any crowd I have ever stood in. Nobody starts a single fight across the whole session. I really did not expect that, and I am absolutely not going to complain. The inventory I wholesaled yesterday vanishes in record time, selling out at a markup of 3 times and up. The profit on it is totally clean. Yet I sigh despite my good mood, because the bottom line number tells me the blunt truth about my situation. My starting capital was just way too small. Even with that massive price markup, the entire batch earned me barely under 1,000 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin. It is definitely not a small sum, but it is nowhere near a massive fortune either. The free stall area is what actually saves the session. The trading never stops there, and the transaction tax pulls in a pretty respectable amount on its own. Sitting on over 1,000 strands and carrying way more confidence than I had this morning, I throw on a trader disguise and step down into the stall area. That figure needs a slight caveat. Saying over 1,000 strands is just a manner of speaking. Most of what I am holding is actually life nuclei. The total only breaks 1,000 strands when you calculate it through the Kindling Human Civilization exchange rate. Floating land origin serves as currency for intermediate civilizations and up. Anywhere below that line, life nuclei act as the real hard money. The stall area is absolutely tiny. 30 feet on a side is a complete joke for hundreds of intelligent star sea creatures, and it looks exactly like one. So I drop 150 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin, instantly taking the ruins market from level 0 to level 5, right in front of several hundred beings, who have absolutely no clue what is happening. The heavens market violently expands. The 300-foot square it maintained for 10,000 years suddenly rips outward to 900. The stall zone scales up with it, stretching from a pathetic 30-foot square to 90. Still packed, but a completely different world than before. A system panel, only I can see updates right as the walls are shifting. Heaven's Market Master Song. Level 5. 94 vacant shops, 1 90-foot stall area, and 1 single-story inn, holding 30 guest rooms. 1 level 0 all-attribute cultivation room doubling psionic energy efficiency, plus 1 level 0 psionic energy defensive array. 1 level 0 ultra-long-range random space gate deployment platform. Extra configuration none 0 out of 4. And the core trait is danger avoidance. The next upgrade demands 60 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin, plus 600 strands in transaction volume. A footnote still calls it an inconspicuous little ruins market on the shattered star sea's dark side. Apparently, it only admits creatures below Tier 1 who show decent potential. I read it over and frowned. The extra configuration column actually gained 2 slots on the way to level 5. I can work with that. But what did not budge at all were the all-attribute cultivation room, the deployment platform, and the psionic energy defensive array. All three are still stuck at level 0, which tells me loud and clear upgrading any of them later will cost extra resources, on top of what the market itself demands. That is not exactly the news I wanted. Still, a monthly session pulling in steady results like this makes for a pretty stable business. As long as I bring enough capital and the gates actually connect to populated areas, the profit is guaranteed. It does not rely purely on luck like deep space exploration does. Upgrade complete. I go back to wandering the market stalls. I am still itching to steal a deal today, and prices swing wildly across different regions of the shattered star sea. There is always a solid chance that some alien's ordinary junk is actually a highly prized resource back in Kindling territory. I pace up and down the rows, just shaking my head. One vendor wants 20 Tier 0 life nuclei for a single ton of refined iron ore. That is double the going rate on any street back home. Even a stray dog would pass. Over there, 2 tons of methyl ore for 8 Tier 1 life nuclei. That is genuinely below market value, but completely useless to me without a distribution channel. I would have to offload it through the black market and end up taking a loss. 10 minutes pass with more of the same. Then my feet freeze in front of a tiny stall run by a merchant from the bull-headed race. I let my gaze wander across his scattered goods, but my peripheral vision is locked onto a palm-sized black sphere. My system panel reads it as an exotic item called refined gold raw stone, white quality. The interface lists 3 potential evolutions for it: a golden moon glaive, a golden rock shield, and golden rock whole armor. The system remarks that it is a high-quality find among white exotic items. This completely unremarkable black ball is actually a white exotic item. When I first laid eyes on it, I almost blew my cover. The kind of bargain I came hunting for was just normal inventory with a decent price gap. Exotic items never even crossed my mind. Every single Starsea exotic item out there is incredibly precious, forged over an enormous span of time. That holds true even for the lowest white grade. I make a big show of picking through the rest of his stall, grabbing the sphere last. Very casually, I ask him what it is. The stall owner has absolutely no clue, throwing his hands wide open. He looted it off a hostile tribe warrior he killed in battle, and never actually figured out what kind of ore it is. All he knows is that the rock is unbelievably hard, and his tribe's best blacksmith failed to melt it. Then he finally names his price: 100 Tier 0 life nuclei. He quickly adds that the quality is top-notch, claiming any weapon forged from it would hit like the apocalypse. I frown and push right back. I complain that I do not even know what metal this is, calling 100 an absolute ripoff. I offer to halve it to 50. Agreeing on the spot would have made him instantly suspicious of his own merchandise. Only a few rounds of brutal haggling keeps that from happening. We finally settle at 75 Tier 0 life nuclei. I walk away from that stall with a completely deadpan face, while my heart does backflips inside my chest. Refined gold raw stone and ordinary refined gold ore are basically the exact same substance. The only difference is that raw stone is the compressed essence of an entire large ref or fine gold vein. That kind of density puts its value leagues beyond ordinary ore. The system panel explains the rest. As a metal attribute exotic item, it naturally converts into hull armor for a kindling starship, and it can also be forged into handheld weapons and personal shields. You almost never see that kind of versatile combination. Having tasted that kind of luck, I work the market stalls twice as hard for the rest of the session, but I never managed to spot a second Starsea exotic item. I do pick up a few batches of supplies that are genuinely scarce back inside Kindling territory. Even after black market fees, flipping them later should clear over 100 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin. It is definitely better than nothing. The clock keeps ticking down. By the time well over half of this market session has burned away, my expression is anything but pleasant. I distinctly remember configuring one of those 10 gates. It was set to open inside the territory of a mechanical civilization recorded in the Kindling database. Yet not a single member of the mechanical race has actually walked through it. The shattered star sea, the apocalypse galaxy, the whalefall star domain, and a region of the void so densely cracked that nothing living enters on purpose. Inside the borders of the apocalypse mechanical civilization, this star domain has been a legendary forbidden zone since the dawn of recorded history. Almost nothing lives in it. Tens of thousands of years ago, the absolute overlord of this domain was a massive starry sky behemoth, known as the long-fin void whale. It went to war against the mechanical legions, commanded by the Genesis intelligence of the apocalypsis civilization. That single battle permanently changed the color of the galaxy. Not a single living thing knows how it ended. We only know the Apocalypse Civilization renamed the Void Whale Star domain to Whalefall. From then on, the entire region just started tearing apart, filling up with massive spatial cracks. For countless years since then, anything wandering in blind gets swallowed by those rifts, completely ground to dust by the howling void gale. Today, that dead silence shatters. A mechanical fleet pushes through, and it is not a big one. Just a few dozen assorted warships packed tight around a single flagship. They move with extreme caution. The flagship is a solid cyan brown from bow to stern. Its armor plating is thick enough to devour light, a steel behemoth, over 3,000 feet long and 600 wide. The railgun built into its nose spans almost 300 feet across. It does not even need to fire to make a point. Inside the main control room, a silver-armored robot sits at the primary console. In a completely flat, dead voice, it asks if the target actually fled into this star domain. The energy rolling off that silver unit is incredibly weak. It scans at Tier 1, nothing more. A literal joke compared to the Tier 2 and Tier 3 units standing right behind it. And yet every single one of them treats it like the absolute boss. One steps up to answer, reporting the final radar sweep right before the target signal vanished entirely. The target was definitely inside this domain. The report gets cut short right there. A sudden alert blares across the bridge, an unknown spatial gate fluctuating at completely unrecognized coordinates. A harsh red light flashes. It sweeps through the silver robot's eyes for a few seconds. Then comes the order: go check inside the Heavens Market. Less than 2 hours remain in this trading session, and the sheer volume in here has not dropped a single degree. I am definitely not the only one flipping items for profit. The alien races on the other side of those gates figured out the exact same hustle hours ago. They realized pretty fast that certain goods bought inside the ruins market could easily flip outside for double the price. Right after that, the higher-tier bosses started shoving their Tier 0 subordinates through the gates, selling stock as fast as they could physically carry it. They are all making an absolute killing. None of them can stand watching the clock bleed. To them, a 24-hour window is practically an insult, and wasting a single second is not an option. I honestly cannot complain about the rush. Every single item changing hands in here kicks a 10% transaction tax straight to me. Over the past 20-odd hours, factoring in those gene optimization potions, my total holdings just broke past 3,000 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin. I opened this place by scraping together 300 strands. That is 10 times my investment in a single day. The trading is still pushing toward its chaotic peak when a single figure steps through the gate. It hits like a boulder dropped into a still pond. The entire market instantly goes dead silent. Several hundred creatures, every bizarre shape this corner of the Star Sea can produce, turn their heads at once. Up to this point, every buyer in here has been carbon-based. Real flesh and real blood. But the thing standing at the gate right now is assembled entirely out of cold metal. Someone in the crowd mutters the words "mechanical race." Pure vigilance ripples across every single alien face in the street at the exact same instant. The mechanical race has a massive reputation out here, and it is incredibly ugly. You mostly hear them labeled with words like extreme, completely unhinged. For most civilizations and races in the Star Sea, the standard policy is just to back away respectfully and keep your distance. Its red gaze sweeps right across the rule screen at the entrance. Then, radiating an aura at the absolute peak of Tier 0, the mechanical life form steps into the ruins market proper. It starts dragging that harsh red light over every single alien. One at a time, it is clearly hunting for a very specific target. A low ripple of unease goes through the crowd, but nobody steps up. They just let the machine scan the whole market end to end. The attitude is wildly overbearing, but it technically hasn't broken a single posted rule. With the final hours of the trading session rapidly burning away, no creature here is willing to start a fight and bleed precious time over it. While all of this plays out, tucked in a quiet corner, I casually shift from a customer back to a stall owner. I lay out a few life nuclei, placing one very specific item dead center. That item is the Tier 1 floating continent origin core fusion body. And it really does not take long. The mechanical race unit finishes its sweep, completely failing to find its target. Then, exactly like I planned, the machine stops right in front of my stall. It points a metal finger at the fusion body. Its voice is cold, synthesized, completely hollow. It asks how this purple-quality exotic item trades. I already have my answer ready. A purple-grade floating continent origin core fusion body only trades for other exotic items. The second it puts down something I actually want, it can walk out of here with the core. The machine does not say a single word back. It just turns around and aggressively marches straight for the exit. Total confusion hits me. I really didn't think my asking price was that insane. Did the Apocalypse Mechanical Civilization unlock some insane energy core breakthrough? For a second, I genuinely wonder if a purple exotic item is just trash to them now. I am still grumbling to myself when that same unit steps back through the gate. This time it brings over 20 Tier 0 mechanical race members along. The new arrivals box the first unit into the center of a tight formation. Their threat detection is clearly dialed all the way up. My mood flips instantly. Not a single muscle twitches on my face, but inside I am throwing a massive party. A massive escort means massive value for whatever they brought to trade. Nobody wastes guards on cheap junk. Whatever sits inside that box, I suddenly want it way more than before. I will admit the idea of just robbing them absolutely crossed my mind. As market master, I could just trigger the secret realm laws. There is zero chance I lose that fight. I crush the thought immediately. Set a precedent like that once, and the heavens market ruins its reputation permanently. A saying from my past life rings true. Here the only way to keep a secret is to never do the deed. The shattered star sea is massive. A couple of quiet robberies might stay hidden, but that does not help when my entire future depends on this place. I am not just opening this hub 100 or even 1,000 times. I am going to run it infinitely more than that. Break the rules today for a quick payout, and every future year tanks. I would eventually lose thousands of times what I could steal right now. A guy carrying 2 lifetimes of experience does not make a rookie mistake like that. Over 20 heavily armed mechanical race members march up to my stall. The leader instantly pulls out a glowing purple item without any hesitation. It looks exactly like a severed eyeball. The core is grayish-blue, throwing off a harsh and blinding purple light. The entire surface is crammed with thousands of tiny pupils staring straight out. It makes the hair on my neck stand up. I ignore the creepy visual and scan the stats. It is a purple-quality multi-eyed race-origin eyeball. It eventually evolves into either a soul-extinguishing eye cannon or a medium-range soul-wave detection radar. The system notes it as a top-tier purple exotic item, packing incredibly potent energy inside the pupil. My expression stays perfectly flat. I shake my head without a second of hesitation. I am not even faking the poker face this time. I legitimately feel nothing looking at it. My floating continent origin core fusion body is also a purple grade component. Its raw numbers easily match this eyeball that turns into a main cannon or radar. If that is their absolute best offer, we do not have a deal today. Trading a purple engine for a purple weapon is pointless. The mechanical race member actually does not look shocked at all when I refuse. It simply stows the multi-eyed race origin eyeball away, pulling a second item from the highly advanced mechanical case in its hands. This one is another exotic item. Only the glow coming off it is pure orange. Seeing that color hits my chest so hard I actively have to fight to keep my face totally neutral. Any orange quality exotic item carries the glory title throughout the entire Shattered Star Sea, and one of them is resting on my stall right now. An orange quality advanced dark matter energy crystal, capable of evolving into a dark matter energy shield generator. The description calls it a 1 in 10,000 drop forged from ultra-pure dark matter energy and incubated for tens of thousands of years. Swallow the excitement down. I give absolutely nothing away. But internally I swear that an orange glory quality shipborne energy shield is leaving this market with me, no matter what happens next. All of this processing takes a split second. Then I open my mouth and tell them it falls short. Hostile red light flares across their formation. Their leader demands an answer if an orange glory quality exotic item is not enough. Can they safely conclude I have zero intention of a fair trade? I completely ignore the threat. I just look bored. My confidence is not a bluff, it comes from one hard fact. Technically, the Tier 1 floating continent origin core fusion body is just a purple exotic item. But that is a carbon-based valuation. For silicon-based life like the mechanical race, an energy core is not just parts. It is a beating heart. An item that supplies infinite energy at an output, completely shattering any normal core. That is the kind of prize that drives their entire species out of their mechanical minds. So the exact same object that flesh and blood races grade as purple is actually worth far more than an orange item to them. The red light in 20-something pairs of eyes flares viciously hot. Their metallic bodies shift forward into a clear attack posture. I brace my stance, sending a single mental command straight through the system. In a split second, the sky over the entire ruins market violently shifts. A phantom pupil 300 feet wide materializes right over the street. All 20-something members of the mechanical race feel a freezing gaze lock onto them from above. It's Tarsai's death threat that leaves absolutely zero room for misunderstanding. Nearly 1,000 aliens across the market suddenly go rigid. That massive eye is not even looking at them. Yet they all break out in a cold sweat anyway. I can see a bunch of them quietly congratulating themselves for never trying anything stupid in here. The false sky refuses to clear until every mechanical unit in that formation completely drops the idea of fighting back. Their leader leaves the ruins market for a second time. My asking price is simply way higher than what it is authorized to pay. It comes back pretty fast with another mechanical case in its hands. The alien opens it right in front of me and harsh purple light floods a solid half of my stall. 6 purple exotic items sit right inside that case. Weird expressions ripple across the faces of the alien crowd standing close enough to look. But then they remember the massive eye that filled the sky minutes ago. Every greedy thought in the crowd instantly goes cold and dies quietly. The leader tells me that alongside the advanced dark matter energy crystal, I can also pick one item out of these 6. And if I still refuse, the deal dies right here. I get it perfectly. That is the absolute ceiling whoever backs this squad is willing to pay. Pushing past it means watching them pack up the case and walk. So I stop bumping the price and start reading the stats. If haggling is completely off the table, my only decision left is which of those 6 holds the most value for me. 2 of the remaining 5 simply cannot be converted into shipborne components for a kindling starship. I set those 2 aside immediately right along with the multi-eyed race origin eyeball. That leaves 3 options. An energy-gathering stone, a 10,000-year star core fire, and a Snook starship cannon. All 3 convert into either thrusters or shipborne secondary cannons, packing serious value. Yet one of them, the 10,000-year star core fire, is an incredibly rare drop that can actually raise the quality of a flame seed. My hands rest flat on the stall, and I can feel them physically shaking. If that orange item gave me a massive rush earlier, finding a 10,000-year star core fire sitting here basically makes my soul scream. It is the exact feeling you get when your brain gets overstimulated way past what it can actually process, and just hums. Honestly, I made my choice the exact instant I read its attributes. I still go through all 3 system panels one by one, nice and slow. The absolute last thing I need is the mechanical race, seeing how desperately I want that fire. The energy-gathering stone is purple and evolves into an energy-gathering thruster. Its system note just calls it a totally mediocre example of a purple exotic item. That 10,000-year star core fire is purple too. It evolves into either a star core thermal engine or a flame seed upgrade fire source. Its system note labels it a fire attribute purple exotic item packing a great many uses. Finally, the Snook starship cannon is purple and naturally evolves into a Snook star cannon. Its lore says it was a literal starship cannon left behind by the ancient Snook civilization, eventually mutating into a purple exotic item, surviving the baptism of long ages. The other 2 items are genuinely excellent, yet neither of them sways my decision by a single hair. Once I feel the acting performance has run long enough, I stop stalling. I grab the 10,000-year star core fire alongside the advanced dark matter energy crystal and lock in the trade. The mechanical race. They take the Tier 1 floating cotton and the origin core fusion body. They do not linger in my market for a single second longer than necessary. Barely a minute after they leave, with my heart still hammering in my chest, the very first trading session of the Heavens market is formally declared over. Every single alien down in the street looks up at once. Clouds and wind churn violently across the false sky above the market. Out of thin air, a glowing line assembles itself, carrying the very laws of the universe folded inside. The message simply says the star sea is boundless, and may we all meet again if fate allows. 10 seconds later, while several hundred alien creatures are still processing whatever kind of emotion a message like that triggers, a brutal force of expulsion violently grips every living being left inside. One nasty moment of vertigo later, they are all dropped exactly where they were standing before ever walking through a gate. The whole market empties out and goes completely dead quiet. Honestly, I have zero attention left to spare for the solemn atmosphere. I am too busy counting profits while summoning the firmament. A few minutes later, I step back aboard my own ship in a state I can only describe as pure jubilation. Doing a quick first count, my haul comes out to nearly 4,000 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin, subtracting the tiny amount I spent upgrading the market earlier. This single trading session netted me 3,700 strands plus 3 exotic items: the white refined gold raw stone, the purple 10,000-year star core fire, and that orange advanced dark matter energy crystal. The second I am safely inside the spaceship, the colorless kindling hole begins quietly converting all 3 items. That refined gold raw stone comes out as golden rock hole armor at level 0. Quality white, consumption 3 per second, defense 13. The first upgrade needs 5 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin, 500 energy points, and 1 ton of adamantite. The 10,000-year star core fire reveals itself as a flame seed upgrade source. Its effect description? Just a single sentence. Merge it with a colorless quality flame seed, and it bumps that seed up an entire tier. The note labels it an extremely rare fire source. It benefits the seed, holding a downright unimaginable appeal for any low-tier kindling captain out there. Pretty polite way of describing my shaking hands. Meanwhile, the advanced dark matter energy crystal drops as a level 0 dark matter shield generator. Orange quality. The first trait boosts shield capacity by 40%. The second? Straight up doubles the base defense value. 10 consumption per second, 38 defense, 532 shield value. 30-second recharge. 1 hour buffer after an overload. The first upgrade asks for 10 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin, 1,000 energy points, and a ton of mercury crystal. I set both starship components aside, circulate my psionic energy, open the kindling ancestral aperture, and pull that wisp of star core fire inside. Everyone knows a fire attribute exotic item that upgrades a flame seed has to be purple grade at minimum. White or blue tier fire sources? They do absolutely nothing for it. This specific wisp is the lowest grade of purple upgrade fire out there. All it can manage is taking a colorless flame seed to white. Top-tier purple upgrade fires can carry a white seed straight to blue. Those are rare by a margin I honestly do not even want to think about. But for where I am standing right now, this one is completely sufficient. I honestly cannot make myself wait. The exact second that 10,000-year star core fire enters the aperture, the flame at the center of that chaotic space flares hard. It actually senses a fire source pulling at it, and the raw instinct to evolve takes over immediately, driving it to devour and merge as fast as physically possible. Caught in that pull, the star core fire drifts slowly toward the center of the aperture. When they finally touch, it is like throwing an armload of dry wood onto an open blaze. The flames erupt, bucking and leaping like a horse. Nobody has ever broken. The devouring lasts for roughly 10 minutes. Once it finishes, the color of the flame seed settles. What used to be pitch black has gone incandescent white. The exact moment it completes, my exhausted mind floods with something I can only call pure vitality. Every scrap of energy I burned earlier rushes back at once. Backed by the raw reinforcement of a white flame seed, my mental strength feels noticeably more solid and steady than an hour ago. That is the part outsiders miss about the flame seed of Kindling Human Civilization. It does not just absorb psionic energy. It actively guards and strengthens the mind. The higher its quality, the stronger both effects get. It is exactly why a kindling citizen walks into a fight against a soul attribute starseed race already holding an advantage. Nobody gave them that. Beyond that, upgrading the flame seed from colorless to white actually raises the ceiling on the firmament. It jumps from Tier 1 to Tier 2. The reinforcement limit on every starship component I equip jumps from level 19 to 29. The special component slots shift too. A kindling starship bound to a colorless 2 slots, gaining 2 more every 5 levels. Mine now gains 4 every 5 levels. Adding it all up together, calling this an across-the-board upgrade is definitely not an exaggeration. With the flame seed handled easily, the most important part, I finally turned back to those 2 basic components. I stripped the standard whole armor and psionic shield off the ship without a second thought. I lock the new pair into place and start reinforcing. The golden rock whole armor can wait. This dark matter energy shield generator is obviously where every single resource I own is going. And by sheer luck, I walked out of that last trading session, holding a solid batch of mercury crystal. That is exactly what this thing eats. The prompt asks if I want to spend 10 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin, 1,000 psionic energy points, and 1 ton of mercury crystal. That payment takes the dark matter energy shield generator straight from level 0 to level 1. I hit confirm without reading it twice. Dozens of seconds later, the component is already sitting at level 10. Pushing it there cost 420 strands of Tier 0 floating land origin, plus 60 tons of mercury crystal converted entirely into origin power. The entire bill runs to roughly 1,020 strands. Past Tier 1, the upgrade requirements become completely absurd. Priced honestly, Tier 1 floating land origin starts at 400 strands of the Tier 0 kind per unit. I cannot afford that today, no matter how enthusiastic I get. Other components are waiting, and I still need to hold back starting capital for the second Ruins market session next month. Plus, I just simply do not have enough Tier 1 floating land origin on hand right now. Below Tier 1, the stuff is absolutely everywhere. The origin core of nearly any floating continent in the Shattered Star Seas, he produces it constantly. Taking down monsters in an alien star zone drops it too.